everybody. To welcome you back from our short hiatus, I have a story about riding the bus in Las Vegas, and it goes as follows. I'm sitting there minding my own business, and a man gets in the bus with a cavalcade of other characters, but this guy is special because he's holding a pile of tablets, like smart tablets, or the fuck.
I thought you meant like biblical talent.
Well, hang on, because we'll circle right back around to that because he steps in the bus and like they're off brand as fuck. I couldn't tell you what the hell they were called, but he looks at me, he goes, and like he turns and looks at me, and right away, like before any words come out of his mouth, I'm like, "Don't you fucking dare! Don't you fucking dare try to sell me one of these fucking tablets on this bus!" And he goes, "Hey man," I'm like, "Oh, you fucking clown." And he phrases his sales pitch is this. I swear to God. Have you heard of the tablet?
The tablet.
Well, okay, I don't need you. Don't spoil anything. Is this going to go the way of like getting CDs off the street in New York? Is that where we're headed here? Because
this is if the Fallout universe had continued after the 50s and they came out with this thing. It wouldn't be an iPad. It would be the tablets.
The tablets.
Well, here, take this tablet, man.
And like,
you got to pay me for that, though.
Again, he said the tablet. I'm like, like, are you holding Moses's tablet? Is it the ones the 10 Commandments? What tablet? That tablet? What is it called? Before he can say anything, or before I can say anything, the bus driver is like, "I know you aren't trying to do that on my bus."
Yes.
Like, here, and he's like, "Maybe I'm not," and she goes, "That's right, sit down." And that was the end of it.
Yes.
Perfection.
But he stopped. Like, I went cross-eyed at the tablet because I was like, if I was your boss, I would have you fucking tarred and feathered. Like,
I am amazed that the bus driver was like, "You're not trying to do this again on my bus." What is going on?
Oh, tablet guy.
He was selling the iGad, the only tablet powered by dirt.
Ew. Oh, it's floor powered. Well, he got on with some guy who walks on, scans his bus card, and it says like pass invalid, and he just walks on and just takes a seat right in the back, and the bus driver is like, "I know your pass is expired." This dude says nothing. The bus driver does nothing. I'm like, hold on. I've like Oliver Twist like begged to get on a bus because I didn't have any cash, and they're like, "Nah, fuck off, dude." Slam the doors in my face. But I guess the secret is just to walk on the bus.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
walk in, sit down, act like you belong there.
I didn't want to kill your momentum earlier when you first started telling this, but when you're like, "Oh, I've got a bus story," so I got on the bus in Las Vegas. You could have ended it there. Like, we could have filled in all of these not worse things that have probably happened on a Vegas bus.
Dude, I almost saw a stabbing on a Las Vegas bus. See? Yeah. The tablet guy is pretty mundane, but also on the way home tonight, I was walking, and I told you guys in the chat, but like these two Mormons on bikes, helmets, no jackets. It's fucking cold outside, okay? No jackets. Rolls up and he says, "Hey, would you like a photo of Jesus Christ?" And my first reaction was like, "No." And then they pedaled further, and I went, "Wait, photo? What do you?"
And then they faded away.
Yeah. But in my head, though, it's like the Patterson film. It's just him out of focus, like mid-stride. Like
people are trying to prove it's real.
It's him doing the Bigfoot walk,
except
it's robes.
Yeah, but the arms are swaying, and he's looking back over his shoulder, like.
Yep.
My God.
Anyway, welcome to our first show of 2022, and we're here to say goodbye to 2021. I'm Connor. Erik is here. Arlen is here. Hunter is here, and we're going to talk about 5 things we loved, and maybe 1 or 2 things we didn't. Although, when I had to think about this, I was like, I don't think I saw or experienced anything truly terrible this year.
I did.
Yeah. Which is why it wasn't really a solid category this year. It was like if you have something.
I mean, I think there was such a wealth of stuff that was out there that probably wouldn't have gotten noticed any other 2-year period, because let's be honest, 2020 and 2021 were pretty much the same year.
My God,
Yeah.
dude. I was looking at like, oh, Avengers. I'm like, that was a year ago. Cyberpunk, that was a year ago. Fuck.
I can't believe I missed 2016. I can't believe it.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like there was so much stuff available that, like I said, we probably wouldn't have noticed any other year, that we were a little bit kinder, I think, with some things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
also
Yeah, there's
feel
that.
like
Yeah.
my filter has also gotten a lot thicker, I guess, for like, because I've had to sit through such garbage the past few years. Like, I think like, so when I saw like I just watched Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, and like, it's a bad movie. It's a very
Yeah.
bad movie. But at the same time, like, it's totally watchable and it's totally fine. And like, it does some really silly ass
Right.
things, but at the same time, like, it's shit. But at the same time, like, I don't care.
To
It's
an earlier point about this year, there's a last person picked for the dodgeball team aspect to this year.
Yes. Yes.
Where it's like,
all right,
well,
Resident Evil, I guess you.
yeah,
Well,
what do we have left? You know, it's
and-
like,
And in some ways,
Yeah.
what you were just saying, Connor, sounded very much like Stockholm syndrome, except when it comes
Yeah.
to movies.
It's less Stockholm syndrome, because like I look at it and compare it to like, I don't know, like Munchie, and I'm like, oh, I'll watch Welcome to Raccoon City like 6 times over having to sit through fucking Munchie ever again.
All right,
Um,
yeah, I can understand it when it's
Yeah,
worded that
and
way.
like, and also like regarding, and that's not the movie that I'm gonna shit on this year. Actually, up until when I actually vocalize, I'm not sure which one I'm going to. But like Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City is like, it's one of those things where I'm like, somebody in this production really gave a shit about a lot of things, but then at the same time, like, the script sucks, and like,
Right.
who the fuck? Like, Resident Evil characters are already pretty flat and one-dimensional to begin with, and then you made them unrecognizable, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
yeah,
I am totally okay with like changing the races of them, because it's like they're just
when I say unrecognizable, like, Jill and Wesker are flirting. Leon is is a pushover who gets bullied by everybody in the movie.
that's the
because he's a
problem. It's
nerd and
like
he deserves it.
the people who are like, oh, like they're not the same, or like they're getting hung up on the wrong thing.
Yeah, exactly. Who gives a shit about the race of Leon and Jill when they're doing weird things like turning Wesker into like a really cool guy who like Jill has feelings for, but he's not interested, and Leon is like, oh well, I'm a son of a police officer, and I got transferred here because I shot a man in the butt. That's a real thing in the movie. He gets sent to Raccoon City because he shot a fellow officer in the
I
ass.
can't watch this movie. I can't do it.
You're explaining what sounds like a John Cusack film.
right. Yeah.
Is this Uncle Buck too?
But when it leans into the horror shit, you're like, I was actually super into it, and like, because that's the shit they cared about, and like they cared about recreating like the Raccoon City Police Department and the orphanage and the truck driver, and like the use of music is also really, really impressive. Like, there's a scene where it's Donald Logue is back, the most underrated actor. He's the police chief, and like he tries to leave Raccoon City, and he's got Journey playing in his car, Anything You Want, by Journey, and he sets it up like 5 minutes earlier by saying like talking to Wesker, he's like, yeah, nothing like taking a woman home, putting on Journey. And goes to leave the city, and the police start shooting at him and civilians, and the music is diegetically coming out of his car as people are being gunned down around him, and he's freaking the fuck out. I'm like, that is really cool filmmaking for a couple minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Something real quick. This is going to seem, of course, out of left field.
Right.
Donal Logue, or you would actually pronounce his name Donald. Because Danny O'Dwyer on one of the newer episodes of the Bombcast, like somebody brought up that guy's name, and he's like, no, that's my Irish name. Like, that is my actual Irish name.
Shit.
It's not Donal, it's Donald. Like, he seemed
when
shocked.
people spell my name Connor, Coner, I'm like, that's Coner. It's not the same. Like,
before we get too far on Raccoon City, I do have one question. Is the police chief insane and obsessed with like puzzles and like?
No, he's just kind of an asshole, and then he gets he gets the gnarliest death I've seen on film in a long time. The liquor pulls him into the ceiling, and then he gets dropped, and like there's one close-up shot of his fucked up clawed body. I'm like, and it's a dummy. It's very obviously a dummy, but like they give you one shot of spectacular gore that I was not fucking ready for. And it was really cool.
I was really hoping you would say like
Lisa-
the police station is like insanely like convoluted.
No, it's like they gave you the aesthetics, but none of the fine details. Also, like Lisa Trevor's in it. Lisa Trevor's like a good person. Like she helps Claire get out of the city. It's super bizarre. She kills the liquor by taking the shackle she has, like the wristbound, puts it in its mouth and just pulls backwards until its fucking head pops off. And that was also one of the best parts of the movie.
Does Ada Wong show up at all?
Yeah, and whoever's playing her sucks.
Well, nothing changed, I guess.
Also, Wesker dies, and then he gets brought back in the mid-credit scene by Ada, and then because the resurrection,
that's cute. They think
and
there's
then
gonna be another one.
Yeah, and then the resurrection sequence, he's like, "My eyes, what's wrong with my eyes?" She's like, "It's a side effect," and she gives him his fucking video game sunglasses, and he immediately calms down. I was like, "Oh no, this is terrible!" Like,
my God, I mean, Connor, everything you said sounds like what I've been hearing, basically.
Yeah, and like I think a lot like
good.
Alana Pierce said the same way. She's like, "It's a bad fucking movie, but it's also quite fun." Like,
yeah. And as I've been saying, in 10 years, when this man's done like a DC film, he's doing like Blue Beetle 3, I'll go back and I'll watch this.
But do we want to get into I guess we want to just transition to the thing that I guess we're hung up on this year we really didn't like.
I think that's a good call.
I'll just keep rolling with it. I honestly couldn't decide which I was more angry at, Ghostbusters or Mortal Kombat. I couldn't figure it out.
Well,
and honestly, like I feel like Mortal Kombat gets a pass because like the beginning and end of that movie are so fucking fun.
Right.
And then in Ghostbusters, is like the beginning and end of that movie is like some of the most egregious, just borderline offensive, and as Arlen said, ghoulish things I've ever seen put to film.
Well,
and
its first point, not Ghostbusters, Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat, so it kind of gets a pass.
Yeah, and like it's silly and dumb, and like, but like also at the same time, like you got fucking this 65-year-old man to play Scorpion who is kicking ass the whole time, doing a really good job, and Joe Taslim is just killing it as Sub-Zero. And they had these just wonderful fight scenes. I think the ending is awesome. That's the only time in the movie that Cole is even remotely sufferable. And it has all these cool, like Kano is also great. And I think that Reptile is cool. Like some of the other fight scenes, all the gore is great. Like in a feel movie is also, but it just feels so fucking unfinished and chopped up and just, I don't know, just there's something missing. And in Ghostbusters, like this is the thing we've been waiting for 30 fucking years. And it's like a weird, sad drama for most of it. And then suddenly it's a popcorn flick where Gozer tears a man in half, which is something I have not gotten over because it was so fucking jarring. And then they put this fucking CGI dead man in front of his real friends on screen. And I'm like, this is appalling. And I hate it all so much.
Yep. Yeah, that's all my feelings exactly. Basically, like,
and it sucks because like the girl, I can't remember who's playing the little girl, Egon's granddaughter, but like she's spectacular. She's amazing.
She's been in some of the Conjurings and a bunch of other movies, and
the scene in the town, the chase sequence where she's in the gunner seat of Ecto 1 is fucking awesome. Love that whole sequence. I love, I guess Gobbler is the name of the new ghost, the one who just fucking eats shit.
Wait, he eats shit, literally?
He eats everything. Like he's Slimer, but he's big and blue, and he just devours garbage. Like he
loves shit.
He's chewing on metal, like he's chewing on whatever. Like he eats structure.
The Albert Fish of ghosts.
Yeah, but like he's cool, and like I don't know, like all this stuff, like where she's like poking around the Ghostbusters stuff in Egon's basement is cool. But then like once Gozer shows back up, I'm like, yeah, terror dogs, Gozer, fucking, are you a god? Blah 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 blah. I've seen all of this before, and then you resurrected the dead man.
Yeah, makes sense.
And he doesn't speak, and somehow the fact that he doesn't speak makes it worse to me.
Well, he doesn't speak, and it goes on for like 10 fucking minutes. Like,
Yeah.
I bring up Tarkin a lot when we talk about this, and like, but the thing with Tarkin is like he comes and goes so fast in that movie, you don't have time to be like, is this wrong? Like,
Also, he's been dead for like 40 years, I want to say,
yeah,
or something like that.
and like
So,
with Harold Ramis, like some of those wounds are still very real to those guys. And like it's real, it's still real to me because I loved Harold Ramis and like he didn't die
Exactly.
that.
You know what the fucked up part about it is they kill him on screen too.
Yeah.
Like, the film. I'm sorry, spoilers for Ghostbusters Afterlife. If you care that much.
No, but it's in the first 5 minutes, so I don't even consider that a spoiler.
Well,
like,
also,
they kill him on
he's the
screen.
only person killed by a ghost in 3 movies.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's terrifying.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, again, I have all the same problems with that movie that Connor has. Like that plus the jokes that the movie tries to make don't land because it's not the Twilight comedy of that director. Yeah.
Well, there's podcast, the big joke.
Podcast.
Jesus Christ.
Podcast is responsible for the best joke of the whole movie, and it's not even that good. It's not even a great joke. It's an okay joke at best.
The problem I have with it, though, is like it made me laugh, but I felt awful for laughing at it.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you didn't earn this. This is just the only funny thing that's happened in about an hour.
Like, then they roll out fucking Murray, Aykroyd, and Hudson's the only one that looks like decent, and like he's the only one that I gotten a reaction out of because like Murray looks like he wishes he could be anywhere else, and Dan Aykroyd is actively dissolving. Like he looks like a melting bulldog.
He looks like he drank too much of his vodka.
Like a big hairless Saint Bernard who learned to walk around. He was like,
well, it's all the Crystal Skull vodka. Like,
yeah.
He
was just injecting it. He had like venom tubes full of the vodka, and it was just.
Oh, and then there's that weird scene where like she calls the Razor cult, and he's like, well, you want to hear 10 minutes of exposition? Here we go. This is all the shit that happened in 30 years between the last movie and right now. I'm going to give it to you all in one big, stupid dump.
Here you go.
Mm-hmm. And
Peter Wing at Academia. Can I see that? No.
No, we can't see that. We have to wait for an end credit scene that I didn't even see to see Sigourney, which is just like, fuck you for making me have to wait for an entire credit sequence to see Sigourney Weaver.
That's
also like if you're interested in seeing what happened to those guys, you get nothing because they show up in the last 10 minutes and then just leave.
Arlen was saying, like they just say like, oh well, Peter's here, and Ernie Hudson. I feel awful because it feels like the only reason he's in the movie is to get them to the final scene.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
because they're like, oh, he's rich now. He has a private jet.
Hot take. The people that don't like the last Ghostbusters movie before this, and one of the reasons among many is that it's disrespectful to.
Oh no, it's woke. Sorry.
And we'll get Hunter. That will come up again. Believe it or not. This movie is far more disrespectful to the original Ghostbusters, in my opinion. If I were like a Ghostbusters fan, the way that some of these people are, I would hate this movie. But I don't care.
Flat out, like, I like the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. I never saw the whatever one that the one that everybody hates, and I haven't seen this new one. But are there really fans like that of it? Like,
there are, for some reason, Ghostbusters and Back to the Future both have like these really rabid fans who are very protective of it. Really, they're protective of the toys.
There are people who are super hopeful that these two movies, like, or in Back to the Future 3, like, can become this like big, ever-branching franchise and have this like, but it can't. Like, it's Ghostbusters 1 is an anomaly, and Ghostbusters 2 is fun, but more of the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, first of all, the best version of Ghostbusters 3 we were ever gonna fucking get is the fucking
game.
Thank you.
The game,
game. Everyone's in there. Everyone cares. Bill Murray even said, like, I did the game and had fun. I liked it. It got me back in the mood for it. And like the only person who didn't come back was Sigourney Weaver because she was misinformed as to what it was. But like the game is fucking tastic, and the game goes weird ass. But you go to literal hell in the game, okay? Like,
Yep.
Dope.
Well, yeah, that's the thing you said with Bill Murray. Like that was a funny story they told on David Letterman, where like he had gotten done recording that and he was walking down the street humming
and he was
the
whistling,
theme
it was
song.
humming the theme song, and some dude was like, "Dude, let it go." Like,
Yeah, we get it. Yeah, I love that. Well, does somebody else have something they hated or disliked greatly this year that they can?
I have something that's not like it's related to media, but it's not a movie or anything. It's more like I think since we are all
we should burn them.
Yeah, but I think since we've been cooped up and kind of just like losing our minds a little bit, online discourse has gotten awful. Like especially concerning media. Like the example that really like upset me the most, I think this year, or like bothered me, annoyed me. It's more of the term. Was the lead up to Guardians of the Galaxy game, where everyone was like, "Oh, it looks awful because I don't like that they changed Star-Lord's look and also all this weird shit." You didn't even give it a chance, and then as soon as it comes out, everyone's like, "Oh, it's good." Like, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, it was a well thought out.
Everyone has to have a thing that, like, I don't know, things just can't be. I don't know how to phrase this. Like, there has to be a problem. Like, there has to be an enemy to beat. There has to be a villain, in the equation. There has to be against, like, in a lot of cases, like this Guardians game, it's like, by all accounts, this game rules, and everyone really. It's fucking Spider-Man Puddlegate all over again. Oh, it's been de-resed.
It feels like nobody can be neutral anymore. That's like my biggest issue.
Oh yeah, no, that's the other thing too. You can't just be happy. Like, which is funny because as the year wound down, like I was getting very comfortable in this kind of this neutral Zen state where I was like, I just really because my year fucking sucked. Everybody, I hope if you haven't been keeping up. And I had just resolved to be like, I just really would like to be like water, kind of just go with it. Which is probably why I can sustain a movie like Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, and just be like, it's fine. Or The Matrix for that matter. Like everyone has to be like either you love this or you are the enemy, or you hate this or you're the enemy, and I'm so over it. And it's bleeding into MCU conversation and like
it's everywhere.
Like
it's Lindsay Ellis is a racist, or Lindsay Ellis is perfectly reasonable in everything that she said, or and I can go on and on with different discussions that I've had to
honestly given my current plight, which I'm not going to talk about in detail on the show. Lindsay Ellis is screaming into my soul right now because that attitude is very much how I feel about a certain other thing going on.
Well, I mean, and whatever, this is my normal thing, but I think having 4 years of the horror we dealt with and then pandemic on top of that has taken a lot of people that maybe have never had to live through an idiot president and anything terrible really in their lives, and having the access to the internet that they do, like it makes it easier for them to do that, because I think it's a lot of younger people who I feel like are the ones that are being absolute assholes about things.
I think it's younger people. I think it's people who they see like online currency, and I don't mean like Bitcoin and stuff. They see it differently. It's like things like clout mean different things to them. I think you're absolutely right, Eric. And then like, and it goes to like these really deep, weird levels. It's the people who are like, I'm going to dunk on a bot on Twitter. Even though it's clearly a bot, it's not a real person. It's literally like a Russian like fake ad bot that just spams people. But I have to show that I am superior to them and that I am intellectually and morally better.
Machine.
Yeah, exactly. This thing that isn't real and does nothing to actually change discourse. And it's just like this weird mentality where the internet is itself a video game.
Yep.
And I want to be careful not to like go on the side of like video games cause people to be one thing or they make people do this, but it kind of has like this weird almost like training thing. It's trained people's brains to work in a certain way.
It's the same philosophy. It's like you have to like do all these subconscious things to get you to a certain point, because that's what gets engagement. Is like at a certain point our brains aren't meant for this kind of mass communication. Like we're driving ourselves nuts.
Well, beyond that,
you know,
too,
honestly, and I have nearly purged Facebook from my life, and it has been liberating. Okay, I barely use it now, and like I don't have this urge to like just scroll through a bunch of bullshit. And, like it's just cleared up my mental load so much.
Well, I mean, this is going to be old man yelling at clouds, but with what you're saying about like people have gamified the internet, like I don't blame video games for that at all, because video games are what they are. They're video games, and maybe people are using the structure of a video game the way they're approaching things on the internet, but it's more about trying to make sure that their name is known, because I think a lot of people feel helpless, and the only way they can show it is by being absolute assholes on the internet.
Wasn't it this year that couple like decided they were gonna do some fucking video where they're gonna like one was gonna shoot the other one with a fucking Desert Eagle, and they were gonna stop it with a book? And like that was their attempt to win the internet, and one of them fucking died.
Shocker.
Oh God.
Yeah. I guess the idea was the idea was like, I'm gonna hold this big giant book in front of my chest, and my girlfriend's gonna shoot at me with a 50 caliber Desert Eagle pistol. And I'm not making that part up. It was a huge fucking pistol.
Well, and
this sounds like on TikTok territory.
If you click on the link in the episode description, you can find out who lived and who died.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, TikTok is also like I think has been just an awful. Here's the thing: I kind of like TikTok because some of that shit is really fucking entertaining, and I can sit there for hours.
Really funny.
However, there's also girls who are like, "Oh, excuse me. By the way, ancient Rome isn't real." I'm like, you are a bad influence to humanity, and you need to be purged.
Once again, I think blaming the medium itself is the wrong way to go about it.
It's just how our
medium isn't the problem. It's
like
giving stupid ass people a voice.
Yeah, there's enough people that have weaponized it and used it cunningly to build fortunes that everyone sees that. They're like, well, that's what I have to do.
It's also like they're people using it to perpetuate their own stupidity and ignorance. Like, were you guys aware that earlier this year that there was a TikTok thing where like people had seen this really fucking bad horror movie called Megan is Missing?
Yes,
it's a
I remember that
footage horror film that has like 2 or 3 like genuinely shocking moments, but otherwise it's garbage. People thought that movie was utilizing like essentially stuff film footage of a real girl who was murdered, and people on TikTok were like, "Dude, we gotta find Megan's Missing is real." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Well,
so is Mungo. Like
me and Hunter have had many conversations about the conspiracies of TikTok, the Appalachian cannibals, and just all this. This is
there is
TikTok.
While we're on this subject, there is a bit of a fun factor with some of this craziness, because like there are generally people on TikTok who just lie. That's their whole thing. They just lie.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like you can tell they're lying. Like, I'm not stupid. Like I can tell you're not a fucking empath, all right? Like you pick up on things. But like the conspiracy side is funny because like there was a whole period of time where they were like trying to convince everyone that there were cannibals on the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah. Which me and Hunter found very quickly is an old thing. Like that goes back before like radios and like this is
so a bunch of TikTokers uncovered an old like rural myth, I guess. And
yes, basically, it's like if in the Texas Chainsaw universe, people were like telling stories about Leatherface or whatever. Only Leatherface would be real, of course, in that case.
Well, no,
yeah,
it's real.
Right,
Well-
exactly. And he's coming for you. Follow us on TikTok for more
She's
information
a
on
good
this.
guy this time, everybody.
Watch part 2 to find out what happened. A lot of that stuff in particular, and I'm sorry, I'm going off into the weeds a little bit here. It all strikes me as similar to the satanic panic of the 80s.
Yeah,
well,
it
where
is.
McCarthyism.
And another thing
and
that's also
it's-
happening right now that we're not going to mention by name because no.
Yeah, because that all connects back to the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which is
Yep.
where Ford got that bullshit from, which was it was a play
like
and it was a satire. It was a satire.
It's
and-
essentially Monty Python for like old time people, right?
Yeah, and it was about Jewish people, and that's how a lot of the wonderful ideas about Jewish people started in America, but also that's how all these other things have been offshoots. They just replaced Jews with cannibals or Satan,
Or-
right.
or
reptilians,
or communists or
Yeah,
reptilians. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been thinking about that a lot lately because of the one comic I've been reading.
Well, you see, at the Travis Scott concert, there was a portal to hell.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
So I don't have a nice segue, but there is a segue that a much smarter person would have to my thing that I'm angry about. And we don't have to go into the specifics that relate to us personally. But my thing is misuse and misunderstanding of the term woke. Intentionally misunderstanding the term and just using it and saying things that make you sound like a fucking moron.
It's not. I don't want to be like. I don't want to get too political on this, but like, it feels like there's a lot of intentional misunderstanding of like what people just care about other people. That's all. Like, I don't understand what's so difficult to grasp about that.
Yeah.
Like,
so sometimes you're just like sensitive to other people. So on that note, what do you mean when you say a thing is too woke, or to quote, "It's woke and I hate it"? What are you actually saying? Because I don't understand the words coming out of your mouth when you say something like that.
It's crazy theory here. This is a case where the people that have used that would claim to lead the left or be open thinkers, whatever. They're trying to quote unquote weaponize it against the people that started it, which was the right, the crazy right. But the same people that are saying they're doing that actually believe it in the same way that the people on the crazy right believe it. They just want to have it under the cover of trying to weaponize the weapon.
It gets lost in translation. It's just like
yeah. But I also think a lot of those people who say woke are also actually
God, but I missed
that bullshit.
How did we get here?
No, it's what Arlen was bringing up.
But not go too far in the weeds here. Like, I feel like the intentional sort of like, I don't understand this point, I'm just going to keep using this half a fact to argue with you. Is like, you're not arguing anything. You're just intentionally being wrong and then trying to use make people mad. It's not. That is not a debate. It's just
Yeah, it's repeating like not even actual information. It's the dictionary definition of a factoid is something that is not true. It's using factoids to argue something instead of actual facts. And it's everywhere. It's it's people who are like I don't like the vaccine because it's changing my DNA. Which
it's not.
About fucking
No.
time. I want my mutant powers.
Fuck.
Yeah, I honestly wish I got magnetic powers, but it's not
I'm
happening.
43, please. I need these.
Yeah, exactly. You can be like
Give me the
Magneto,
nanites.
but for yourself. You know,
Whatever.
you-
I don't care. Just give me powers.
Give me the mark of the beast.
My left
Exactly.
foot hurts. And I don't know why. Just give me the powers. Like,
Yeah. I slept wrong and now my neck won't turn for a week. Yeah.
I overexerted myself at work and my left arm is inflamed. I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
give me the power to not wake up and say, "Did I pull something yesterday?"
Yes.
yeah.
Give me the power to eat something and then be guessing the next day. Is that what gave me diarrhea?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is
But
nice
yeah.
when you know exactly what it did it though. That's the one that I like. Where you're like,
currently, you know,
Yeah.
I've discovered as a 35-year-old, ramen noodles, like the packaged shit, is like poison to my fucking body. Like I'll eat it, I'm like, I'll eat it, I'm like, cool, I am Phil, and the next I am Phil, I am full. Wake up the next day and like I'm like, oh my god,
I am not Phil.
I am not Phil. I'm the opposite of Phil. Well, actually, so for those who can't see me, which is everybody, I went from 205 pounds in September to I am 183 right now.
Good for you, dude.
I feel fucking
Hell
tastic. My
yeah.
knees feel great. However, there was a week in between all this where like I sent Joe from Movie Dumpster a GIF, and it was from fucking Venom, and it's just Eddie where he's like, I have a parasite, and like he was like, what? I was like, I don't know what's happening to me, but like everything I put in me just coming right out of me, and I it's been going on for like 6 days, and I don't think I had anything, but like I think my body went into some kind of fucking shock because I changed my diet so much, and like I couldn't keep anything in. I think there was one day where I woke up and I was like, I am so fucking hungry, and just put down like 5 scrambled eggs in like 2 minutes.
Your body is just like, we're closing down for like a day.
Yeah, we're temporarily out of service.
And I'm just gonna quickly throw in, you can actually consume ramen noodles. You just need to actually doctor them a bit. You can't just do water in the powder.
I started straining the water out because
I'm saying use like chicken broth or beef broth.
Yeah.
And
don't
like
use that
frozen
salt packet. Get your own salt. Get like
I open those package. I find that little package of alleged chicken flavor and because alleged pork flavor, and I throw it right in the trash. And I just take like my Lowry seasoned salt, and I'm like, good enough. Like,
I use the powder, but I also add like soy sauce and you get like a thin cutlet of chicken, and you fry that up.
I use like a little bit of garlic salt, and I'm like,
yeah.
My mother
while it's cooking.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah.
My mother bought me like a big thing of Himalayan pink salt, and I'll do like a sprinkle of that on. And that's like, I'm good.
Yeah,
I do want to circle back around to the thing that I hate. I
was gonna mention that because we kind of got lost in the weeds there.
No, but and this is an ongoing thing. Of course, this is an ongoing problem. But it really got to me this time where I'm like, what are you actually saying? And that's the thing that really like inspired me to say I do want to have an angry thing to say, because I went through most of this year being like, most of the things I'm really angry about don't relate to the show that much. But like this is something where this was a problem, and it's gone past being a problem into being ridiculous.
Yes.
So yeah. Erik, I think you're the only one that doesn't have one.
Yeah. For me, it's been everything you guys have said, and the place it's happening in. This fucking country is a nightmare dumpster fire, and I hate it. I hate it so goddamn much. I hate the fact that the orange fucking mongoloid that was in charge for 4 years looks like he handled this pandemic better than Joe Biden has.
Yeah,
and I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden. Sorry, I had to bring this up. I know you guys don't like to get too political, but I can't fucking deal with it anymore.
You know what, Erik? I don't care. We can talk about it.
Honestly,
we've broken this before. Yeah.
I think Joe Biden is a fucking clown. So So
Yeah.
Can we talk about Let's Go Brandon for just a second?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
Just say what you mean.
Just
Just
bring it-
say fuck Joe
Just
Biden.
Just bring up anything, and that is what I've hated this year.
Here's
It's-
the thing:
it's
we'll all
America.
agree with that. Like,
Yes.
well, and you know,
it's a stepping
with me
stone.
removing Facebook from my phone and just not using too much, like I'm exposed to so much little of all of that shit
Mhm.
that it made me feel so much better about just reality. But however, when I go to the Guardian or like when I'm like those like peer reviewed news sites, I'm like, oh god, everything's still so
Yep.
fucking terrible. Like,
Yep.
Oh, this isn't all coming from like Facebook or anywhere either. Like it's everywhere. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. Like
well,
if
Facebook
you,
was where I was seeing it most of it.
okay, yeah, because like watch anything on YouTube. Like if you've
Yep.
curated your feed at all, like you're going to have shit about this, like stupid things
Right.
showing up.
You
Like
curate
you
your
watch.
YouTube feed, like curate your Twitter feed. You know,
Yeah.
Right. Or
put
or
a lot
it'll
of,
be in
you
your
put a lot of work
ad.
into it.
Like
Yeah.
like you'll be
You
you'll be
have
scrolling through
8,000
Redbubble
viewers.
and you'll see a shirt ad or something, you know? It's like
Well, beyond
yeah.
that, like even if you watch like some of the stuff from Comedy Central, like having I can't remember the comedian's name. It's from the Daily Show, but he's the guy who goes to like the Trump rallies and whatnot. And like you see that stuff, and you're just like, fuck, like
Yeah.
we're such a joke. Like what's happened?
It's just like a big. It's sensory overload at times. But it's like, I think, not the like. I think it's important to kind of step away from it every once in a while. Well, I think
Yeah.
a lot of us are too plugged in, and that's what makes it worse. I think that's what.
Well, I think some of this connects back to recent too woke or a lot of hyperbole thrown around about the movie Don't Look Up. Like I feel like I understand people's viewpoint when they're like, man, it's just these past 2 years have been terrible and the 4 years before that weren't great either. It's just I get it. We're terrible.
It's just
I
more to
hate
that,
it.
and I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I get it, but a part of me is just like, no, this needs to constantly
no.
be showing. It needs to
I
constantly
respect
be
that.
playing so people actually understand just how shitty it is.
I respect that. It's just like, damn.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing to sneak something in would be auteur theory and all that bullshit.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
We would need a whole
Wow.
other show about that, Eric, because
Yeah.
Angry Hulk is the greatest film ever
oh my
made.
God.
Just because it was the first well-done Spider-Man doesn't mean it's the best Spider-Man.
Well, you see, Tobey Maguire made a cocktail waitress barf like a dog for a tip. So, maybe he's an awful person. I don't know.
He was part of the Pussy Posse with Leonardo DiCaprio and David
Stop.
Blaine.
Why are we still like, I love Tobey Maguire. Fuck Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
So I want to, before we get into the things we like, bring up one more release this year that I think deserves a proper skewering, and that's Halloween Kills. If you like
Oh
that
my
movie,
fucking
I
God.
don't like you. Okay,
I
think
forgot
you're
that
a
movie
dummy.
happened
Why?
until you just said it out loud. I forgot that movie existed.
I mentioned this to Arlen, I think last night. Like, why is Michael McDonald in that movie make me so angry?
I think you just don't like Michael McDonald.
I don't like his face. I don't think.
You mean the singer Michael McDonald?
No, the performer from Mad TV.
Mad TV.
Oh.
Stewie.
Ew.
Yeah.
No. Ew, Mad TV. No, thank you.
Hey, there's 1 or 2 or 4 people who came from that show who are doing pretty all right for themselves.
I mean, there's this guy named Jordan Peele. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, I didn't like anything I ever saw on Mad TV, just because once again we're getting into that territory of where people confuse auteur theory with fucking nostalgia. Like just because he was on the show doesn't mean it was a good show.
Okay,
Mad TV sucks, but Mad TV sucks for like there's some comedians who walked out of there surprisingly well off, and like
because they ran away from the house fire.
Also, to see Deborah Wilson pop up in Fallen Order, I was like, holy shit, she's good at
Amanda
this.
Waller. She's Amanda Waller now. It's cool.
Yeah. So I do want to say this. Like, I agree, Eric. Mad TV, in retrospect, not very good. I watched it because I didn't have cable for most of my life growing up. It was like half and half.
It was always on before wrestling, I think, when I was watching it.
I'm sorry. Is this the year I'm going to learn that I was on a show for all these years with poor people.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna be so shocked to hear, Eric, that I stayed up
on the-
intentionally to see Girls Gone Wild commercials, Eric, because of the
Oh, who
state of
didn't?
my.
Give me a fucking break. I saw those all the time. Yeah. Oh, here comes the steel drums.
But were you
Go my
were you
pants.
planning on it, Eric? Were you
So,
opening up TV guides and hoping to see it there in the TV guide section? They wouldn't put it there,
No.
but they would say paid
No,
program.
I knew
paid
I could
advertisements,
stay after Saturday Night Live was over, and while I was watching
Right.
a bad horror
Yeah.
movie or Night Flight, there would be commercials for it. So
and
yeah.
you watch
exactly.
the Johnny Carson show because Tom Waits is on or whatever. You're old as fuck.
Yeah.
I'd
Good
rather
job.
have a bottle in
Good
front of me
job.
than in front of a lobotomy.
Yeah. Good job, Hunter. Got me.
Honestly, the best thing to come out of Mad TV is the Sopranos Unpacked sketch, and that's it.
Yep.
But
Well, no,
anyway,
there were. It's like
also,
anything. There are always good sketches. You know, like even bad sections of SNL have good sketches.
Yep.
Throughout them. You know,
I don't
it's
know
just
if you
how it is.
guys listen to the Bobby Lee's podcast Tiger Belly, but like he tells awful. Everyone who comes on his podcast just talks shit about Mad TV the whole time, and he tells stories about how shitty it was. Like
I
that's
believe
the
it.
best part about Mad TV for me.
I believe it. Well, and that reminds me. You bring up Bobby Lee reminds me of another thing that's important to point out. SNL is still on, and it was a big story like last year or something like that they hired. I think their first Asian cast member and writer.
Fucking
Mad
crazy.
TV had people of color.
Mad
in
TV
the
was on
90s.
Fox, okay? It was on
Yeah.
Fox, and
Well,
it's the
that
most diverse comedy cast you'll ever see.
That
Yes.
was also Fox when they weren't. It wasn't as well known who Rupert Murdoch was.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that was when they were trying to be the bad boys of the airwaves. So their choice was to fucking. I hate our country.
Yeah, then they made America
Anyway,
awful.
Their choice was
Let's
yeah,
put
their
some
choice
blacks
was
on the sketch comedy. Oh, right then, sounds
right.
good. Yeah,
I love how
sounds
it's
good to
almost
me.
been
They
an
can
hour,
entertain.
and we have not talked about a single thing on our list.
You know, I'll give us credit. We've done 2-hour hate shows all on their own in the past. So hey, let's give ourselves a pat on the back.
We're very hateful people, honestly.
This is just blowing out some steam. Like there's actually a lot of shit that. Here's the thing: I am far more positive about the stuff that came out this year than I feel like I've been in a long time.
Yeah. No, there's some great stuff on my list. Some of the stuff on my list would be like my favorite stuff in other years. Like, there's some great stuff.
One of the things on my list, before it came out, I was like, "There's just no fucking way," and now it's one of my favorite things ever. But does anybody want to start, or do you want? I don't know. I can start.
I think if we go by the previous order, it's you, Connor.
Okay. This is in no particular order, but this is the first one that came to mind. Spiral. Okay. So last time we saw a reboot, I was like, get fucked. Like, and I'm one of the most diehard Saw fans in existence. And Spiral was coming out, and like something about the approach and the cast and the concept, I was like, all right, I smell what you're cooking. And then when I went and saw it, it's one of I think the only movie I saw in theaters this year was Spiral. Which goes to show exactly how enthusiastic I am about Saw. And like, for whatever reason, that was a enthralling theater experience. And then I watched it at home. I was like, this movie's dumb as shit sometimes. And Chris Rock is a goofy, serious actor, but I love every fucking piece of this movie. And I really want more of this. Also, that movie ends with, and they made it before the BLM stuff and like the really politically charged stuff this year got going, and they kind of lucked into it. Like that movie ends with the police gunning down a black man they think has a gun.
Yep.
And what does the prosecution have to say about what Connor said? Oh, well, they lucked into the BLM movement happening. So, Can we play back the tape?
Yeah, but like, even Chris Rock addressed it. He was like, "We had that script before all the George Floyd stuff like got going," and he's like, "And honestly, as this was getting like coming together, and that was coming together, like it's just kind of met in the middle." But it's very interesting. It's a kind of it's a wacky ass Saw movie in the fact that like it really does a lot to distance itself from the Saw franchise. Like I expected a John Kramer cameo. There isn't one, which to me is a shocking amount of restraint. and the only time you see him is like his dead as fuck body on a fucking slab, in pictures, and like. And they kind of imply that like there's been multiple Jigsaw copycats, and like they deal with these guys like every few months, and like this city is like this fucking weird ass pseudo Gotham city where like some asshole Joker shithead comes up and he's like, "I've got puzzle traps." Yeah.
Well, it's this is an ongoing bit with me and Hunter. It's the new person who owns all the warehouses that are empty.
Exactly, because John Kramer owns half that city and now he's dead. So whoever owns
whoever has the warehouse.
I think the best twist they could ever do is John Kramer the Tobin Bell's character?
Yes.
Okay. Have him turn into like a Mike Lindell, My Pillow, election truther.
The series has come close to addressing issues, and the one time it did was in the 6th movie, and they attacked health insurance like policies, and that's one of the stronger sequels towards the end, because that comes right before 7, obviously, and 7 is just it's so blech. Like, I love all those movies, but 7 is really fucking bad. It's also filmed it was filmed for 3D, so all the color is jacked the fuck up on your regular ass TV, so the blood looks bright pink and looks watery. The saturation is shot all the way up. And it's a horrid looking film. And then like everyone looks like they're covered in 18 pounds of makeup. It's quite bad. But yeah, 6 is good. But Spiral is like one of my favorite sequels in the series so far, because it's really interesting. Even if the twist you can see coming from a mile away, but like it also has a cool ending, and like it's just nice to see. It's nice to see jokes and daylight in a Saw movie, and I thought that was really fun. And like the first 15 minutes is Chris Rock doing Chris Rock bits, and that's it. I'm like, I haven't seen it. Well, okay, I'm sorry. There's a guy who gets suspended by his tongue in a subway, and he has to rip off his own tongue or get hit by a subway car. And I'm like, fuck it, just hit me with a subway car.
I mean, you would bleed out and die if you had to pull out your own tongue anyway.
Yeah.
So
Well, and they show where it's anchored from, and like this thing, it's like a bolt. And it's through like the back of his tongue, and it is pulled all the way the fuck out. I am squirming in my seat the whole fucking time. It is, and that's when it was right away. It was right then, and I knew I was like, I'm going to enjoy this, because I haven't felt that since someone threw Amanda into a pit full of syringes. Like, so
this is a Hunter do not watch movie.
Yeah, well, it's shot. It's not as graphic as you think it is. They do a lot of like, it's careful filming. Like they show like the edge of his mouth is like starting to rip a little bit, and like there's a little bit of blood coming out of his mouth. But like, it's just it's where the tongue is anchored at. You're like, oh Jesus Christ!
Yep. Jesus.
Nope, not for me.
I'm not. I'm set.
Right.
Everyone wants to go next.
I think it's Hunter, actually, but if somebody else has one.
Okay, so my number 5 came out like a month ago. It's Hawkeye.
Okay.
I really love Hawkeye.
Sure.
The show. And okay, anybody who knows me knows that my favorite like Marvel show or like is Daredevil. I love Daredevil. He's my favorite Marvel character, despite me talking about Moon Knight all the time. I love Daredevil. This is Daredevil, but with Hawkeye, and I love it. It's so good. It's got spoilers. It's got Kingpin. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just really love this show.
I think you're fair to talk about Kingpin all you want, because
I want to piggyback off that, because this is one of mine anyway. Marvel TV this year.
That was going to be my honorable mention.
So
before we jump into that too much, I don't know if Hunter had anything else you wanted to add about it.
So I kind of like that it is sort of the show that I feel like it redeems Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye in a lot of ways.
It does, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into a really good character. It sets up everything for like the street level heroes too, which is really interesting. There's no Hawkeye now. I think this is like the people who are down on it, I think, are a little like too picky.
It's the people
And
who are like, Hawkeye's not a superhero. He has a bow and arrow. I'm like, do you use a bow and
Right.
arrow? And they're like, no. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah, and in the beginning, I understood the people who were just out from the Jeremy Renner of it all, and I completely
yeah, I get that.
But if
Yeah.
you've watched all 6 episodes at this point and you're still like, I don't
No.
know, then it's not for
Weird.
you.
You're right.
Then it's not for you. It's just yeah.
That too, Hunter.
The last thing I want to touch on is I think that the MCU kind of version of Kingpin is interesting because in Daredevil he's not a tank. He's huge and like destroys people, but he's not like indestructible like he is in the show. He gets hit by a car, takes arrows like straight to the chest. Presumably survives that gunshot. If you think he's gonna die, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. Yeah.
I think on that note, Hunter, they kind of gave you a clear indication, like, no, this is more comic accurate when you saw him with the walking stick with the diamond on the end of it, because that's like his comic accoutrement. Like one of them, and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, Kingpin in that is like he looks like a tub of guts, but like he's a ridiculously strong man and like a ridiculously good fighter. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's comics or even the 90s cartoon Kingpin or even Spider-Verse Kingpin.
And I think like if you're bringing that character to the MCU, that's how you do it. Is you just like he's a cartoon character. He essentially is like
it makes sense.
And Spider-Man.
Not all. It's about the Mets. And here's the thing: this has been happening in comics forever. You know, a character is established in one comic as being a little bit more serious, a little bit more grounded, and then he shows up in like Fantastic Four or some shit, and he like takes a blast directly from Johnny Storm in the face, and he's fine. It's like, that happened. You know?
Yeah.
It's
nature of the
Well, go ahead, Andrew.
I like the also that they did the I don't remember the name of the run, but I love that the look of him with the
refraction run.
Yeah, that's what this was based on. Even though
like
they didn't give any
like
fucking credit to David Aja or Aja.
Yeah, that sucks. That really
that
sucks.
Was dumb, especially with specifically with the credit sequence.
See the art, right? And they just banked his whole fucking art style for the credits and didn't credit him.
Yeah. That was not
even
fucking Marvel's gonna Marvel.
Even the choice of the bullseyes in the background, or like the archery targets, like that's also a very prevalent thing in his run in the comic. So
I like.
Oh, go ahead.
The overall aesthetic. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
The overall aesthetic of like Kingpin and the Tracksuit Mafia really works well, and that's really all I want to say.
No, that was a smart choice. Well, I was gonna say with your earlier thing about like if you think he's dead after getting shot, you're crazy. It may be spoiler territory, but go read some Daredevil comics. But yeah, if you listen carefully, you hear 2 gunshots, and that's very specifically something that Hunter did bring up. That I was like, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
Especially if they're gonna do what they seem to be hinting that they're gonna be doing soon. So
yeah.
And I'll have one final note on that. I really like Tommy Bahama Kingpin. I really like.
Well, that was taken directly from a comic run too. So
yeah.
I want to swing back around to Loki.
Marvel TV. Yeah,
Marvel TV. So specifically, Loki is just outstanding. Like there's almost not enough I can say about it. We covered it, extensively. It's so fucking good. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is just, those are my boys, my Captain America boys. However, given the year I had, WandaVision was one of the most cathartic entertainment experiences I've ever had in my life. I watched that show through and through about 3 times, and like coming off the heels of losing someone I really cared about, and watching that show, I was like, wow, this is it covers every step of the process. Like, and by the end of it, like I'm just like bawling my eyes out like every time I've got to it. Like, but it's very nice to see a character, because I love Wanda. I've loved Wanda since fucking Ultron. And it was very comforting to see a character like that who is so immensely powerful, be like, just give in to the most basic of urges and just start giving into the worst kinds of like grieving and depression, and she's hurting people around her, and like she's causing problems, and like the whole thing is, it's so hard to get angry at her for it because I'm like, man, like she has nothing, and this fucking mass murdering shithead took all that she had left.
Yeah.
And she also has no place left in the world. Her country's a crater. You know, she's essentially just like she's a woman without a country or a family who had nothing, and in a moment of grief did something really shitty and has to pay for it. But also like the whole like Vision's goodbye, like, but the whole like if we said goodbye once, to stand chance of reason to say we'll say hello again. It was so like Marvel is not sweet, and this was so sweet and so sincere. I gobbled it up every single time I've sat through it. It's so good.
Yeah.
That was sorry, Arlen. I just wanted to add that was going to be my honorable mention for my list was all of Marvel TV, because it's even if it hasn't been like knock it out of the park for the entire series, they've still been consistently entertaining and moved the Marvel universe forward, and it's something to look forward to on a weekly basis.
It's so nice to spend time with these characters when they're not doing something bombastic and ridiculous. Like I really like the idea of spending time with Wanda and Vision when they're just fucking around the house, or like fucking Bucky and Falcon just being shitty to each other. I'm like, this is fantastic. Like I love this. This is so fun. Like but there's like also at the same time like there's a layer of tragedy to like that with Bucky we didn't get. Like dude just sleeps in an apartment with nothing on a fucking like on a mattress on the floor.
This is so I really loved Marvel TV this year as well. Like and if it weren't for a film that came out, I would have said Marvel killed it more in TV this year than they did in films. Like it was, and it's still really close because of how good I think those shows were. I have problems and like little, nibbling things that bother me specifically, but I'm a crazy person. So I admit that fully, but like they always get the emotional arcs correct. And I think the television stuff allowed them to do that even more, to get that even more correct. Even in places where like plot didn't work, or you have characters saying things that are entirely nonsensical, like they got the emotional beats right, which is a lot of what you were just saying, just is like a great demonstration of that. I understand that there are logical problems, for example, with the finale of Loki. I don't care because of the emotional resonance of him and Sylvie in that final scene. It's exceptional, and Loki was almost on my list. That's how good it was. For moments like that, and also just what it did for the universe. And I think that this is all my way of saying this is a good lead into my first pick, unless we have other thoughts on the Marvel TV.
I went and got some water. I wanted to touch on the one more thing in Loki real fast. Like that show was banging on all cylinders to the point where like classic Loki, I wasn't expecting to fall in love with immediately, and then have so much of an emotional response when he died. Like, like the music and him going glorious purpose. Like
it was so good. And I know me and Connor are really like the Doctor Who people on this show, and like knowing the history of him almost being a doctor, and like Loki being kind of like a semi Doctor Who-ish show in its DNA, and in everything that it was, and him like giving like a real like bravado performance that is just so that actor, whose name I'm forgetting for some reason.
Me too. What the fuck?
Richard something.
Richard Grant. Grant. That's but like so good. And
in one scene they show how like, because he says like there's nothing more powerful than a Loki who knows how to conjure and like how to project and how to do these illusions, and like they look like fools, all these Lokis, and like in his final moments he does something that's like fucking impossible. He recreates all of Asgard, and then like he's just left and fucking right. And like I saw a comment on the internet, like someone said like that character, like imagine being that character's head, that he missed Asgard so much that he memorized every single detail of it, and that recreation was almost perfect. And like that's a strong ass character to have around for like a cumulative maybe 10 minutes.
Yep.
I had a quick side question. With him having played Doctor Who, I was always curious. What's Doctor Who's first name?
Yeah. What
Hmm.
is? Yeah. Who is? What is he a doctor
I
of?
mean, I know he has the propulsive hammer, so I
Yeah.
know that's his.
We're not doing this tonight. I do what my one last thing, and I brought this up when we did Loki
You do
reviews.
it.
Like him doing the glorious purpose moment. Like that's almost like an answer to the "What are you the god of?" moment in Ragnarok. Like
Yep.
and it's such a good way to like kick off Loki, who I think is being projected as like one of the main focal points of the MCU going forward in a very interesting way that I didn't expect, and I'm just very excited about it. I just can't wait. It's
Has
just
Tom
yeah.
Hiddleston said what his contract is, or has anyone figured out
He,
what it is?
he hasn't said anything, but I just have a feeling that like the final thing, like the final moment, at least on with his track,
Yeah.
because I think that they're doing many things at once this time around.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be multiple people who come out as being like the leads of this section that we're entering. I think he's going to be a heavy focus. Him having his Tony arc essentially, and it's smart because the two people who hit audiences the hardest in those first three phases were Robert and Tom Hiddleston. Like,
Yep.
there's no question. Like the two most recognizable people from the MCU. So to have the next most recognizable person who we thought was dead be the lead essentially is incredibly smart.
Loki could have been a Yellow Jacket, and Tom Hiddleston's
Mhm.
so good that like he rose above that.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he talked about how one of his major inspirations was Hans from Die Hard. And
Wow, I can actually see that like a lot.
yeah, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Anyway, so this is I think we'll go to my first one, which is the most on brand of any of my picks, or the most for us, I think. Maybe some other ones, but this is the one where it's like this is our thing. The Suicide Squad was fucking great.
Fuck yes, this is also on my list. Holy
Amazing.
shit!
It's so good.
Okay.
Good.
So I have watched the Suicide Squad like probably 4 or 5 times when it was on HBO Max, and I cannot contain my emotions during the climax. I fucking can't. I'm like, I can't remember who said like they're like I've never seen a movie catered exclusively more to you in my entire life.
That's the thing though. I think my favorite thing about the movie though is everybody has their own moment of that. Like every character who makes it to the end, and even characters who don't make it to the end, they have these moments that crystallize them in my mind. You know, we're all on record with our thoughts of the original Suicide Squad, and even Erik, who hasn't seen it, has thoughts on it.
Conscientious objector.
Fair enough, understandable. But like the actor who plays Rick Flag, who I've been like kind of rooting for years, he got a chance to really play an interesting character in this movie, and to like I think really leave a mark on like what
He
DC
was so
movies
good that
can
our
be.
review of Suicide Squad opens with like, so Joel Kinnaman's awesome. Like,
Yeah, he's fucking great. He's so good in the movie, and you know he has this moment that again, you know, I don't want to assume arcs for characters, specifically as it pertains to DC and where things will go with that future. But like, he has this moment that you can see like unraveling the John Cena character later on, in this really interesting way. And I love all of that. I love Idris Elba finally getting a chance to be Idris Elba for a movie, and to like really cement himself as like a big action star in a movie that people actually like.
He is playing like a D tier DC character that fucking nobody knows. And now I want Bloodsport in everything. He is the coolest guy ever in that fucking movie.
Bloodsport is like a white supremacist character in the comics too. It's really funny that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
It's really
they took
funny
care of that.
Well, I like this is a cool version of that character. He has such like interesting weaponry and like he's just cool to look
I
at
love
too.
it so much. I love that he like takes off his chest pads and those are guns. It's like, oh my god, that's so cool. Yeah.
I'm so glad that they marketed this entire movie with that huge cast, and then like they had to kill it.
They killed 60% of the cast. 60% of the cast dies.
It's amazing.
The course of the movie.
I said it when we did our review, like it, and I'm glad so many people like this, and I'm glad like it feels like for a lot of people that DC finally had a win. But yeah, this movie just didn't do anything for me. But that's just me.
Fair enough.
And that's where I'll leave it at. I'm not gonna go into whatever issues I had. But yeah, it just
Marvel shill, Erik.
Wow. Yeah, I know. It's I was more I was more shocked I wasn't in love with a James Gunn movie. That's the last thing I'll say. Yeah.
I had that exact same feeling about Guardians too. So everybody gets one, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
What a DC shill Arlen is.
I know, right? I just talk about how much I love Man of Steel all the time.
I say this with my collection of Reverse Flash figures.
The last thing I want to say about Suicide Squad is I really like how it's a war movie that he just put superheroes in. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's a war movie that he gave such a resonant emotional core. Like the stuff between, I didn't think Ratcatcher, Bloodsport, I didn't think both of them were going to make it out of the movie. And apparently in one version of the movie, she doesn't. And like by the time they whittle it down to their final, like the final cast, I was so hyper protective of all of those people. Like every time a gust of wind blew by King Shark, I was like, don't you fucking dare. I am march to Warner Brothers and kick the shit out of you people. Like
when I think of David Dastmalchian in that movie, I don't well up exactly, but I'm heartbroken over what happens to Polka Dot Man. A thing that I never would have said a year ago. Man. Yeah, man, it's crazy. And oh god, I'm just remembering the Polka Dot Man moments. The thing with his mom, and him seeing her everywhere, and it's so good.
I also think that movie has, for what it was trying to, like, for what it was going for, I think the final shot of that movie is fucking perfect. Where it's just Bloodsport petting the rat and the movie ends. And the song I can't remember what it's called, but like Culture Abuse, and I can't remember the name of it, but like it's this 2-minute super upbeat rock song that I play at work all the time now. It's called So Busted. It is it's perfect. It's a quintessential James Gunn like scene, and it's so good because like this really hard kind of almost unlikable guy comes all the way around from having a phobia of rats to becoming a fatherly fit, like being a shit father, and by the end of it coming around to accepting this creature as like a friend and being a decent father figure and inspiring his daughter in the process. Like to me, it's just so, it's for that character's journey, it's perfect. It's so good. Yeah. And Harley is awesome. My God, Harley's so fucking good in that movie.
She's so good. She's really like matured as a character into being like the star of this universe in a weird way that I never expected. Just
also like, what was that meme? It's like it's the two Shibas, like one's tiny and one's jacked, and like one of them's like, oh, I do cartwheels and I have a baseball bat and wear shorts, and the other one's like, it's probably dressed, it's like, I kill despots and topple empires.
So good.
And she really does, like, she annihilates the whole government body in that movie.
Yeah.
She then kills most of his soldiers.
A review of the movie that I heard, I think I brought this up on our review, is somebody compared her to like unleashing the xenomorph, and it's just so perfect. It's just like unleashing a xenomorph in a populated city. It's just like so good. So good. Okay, anyway, I think we should go to Erik's first thing
Yeah, I mean, my first thing is something that's going to be falling into comic club territory a little bit. Game Pass has been a lifesaver for the past, and I'm still counting 2020 and 2021 together, so please excuse me, but it has saved me literally hundreds of dollars, not just from the games that are essentially free, quote unquote, but also just the points you get from playing said games and getting achievements in them, and you get points that you can then trade in towards Xbox like gift cards, so you can buy more games with it and continue the cycle forever, because I love Microsoft, because I have both my vaccine shots.
That shit, here's the thing, if you min-max that correctly, you can basically play your way into a free subscription like every once in a while.
Yep.
It's incredible.
You can do it almost once a month. Like you can buy monthly by doing it that way. Easily.
I don't know if you notice this, but like every game that is on Game Pass is also heavily discounted. Mm-hmm. So if a game is leaving Game Pass, they offer you it at a discount so you can keep it. Like it's like they literally think like it's an amazing service that shocks me that no one just emulates. Just do Game Pass again. Like
and I know Microsoft has to be losing money on it, but the goodwill is so strong for that. They would be insane to do anything different with it at this point. Yeah, it's if you have an Xbox, you owe it to yourself to get Game Pass. Like I cannot put it any more bluntly.
Here's the thing, I wouldn't give Halo a second look, because like Halo as a series is kind of just done for me. Like I don't give a shit. Like I played Halo 3. I think I played a little bit of Reach. And like I don't care about Halo. Halo is like one of those franchises where I'm like, it's so big and popular and ubiquitous that I don't give a shit about it, because like very little about it appeals to me, except it's always been technically impressive to me and fun to play. And then Halo Infinite comes along and I'm like, it looks interesting. Come to Game Pass. Oh.
Yeah. It's funny, like,
I'll play it.
Now that we're in the year of Starfield now, it's happening.
Yes.
Like I have very little doubt that they're going to move that release date anymore. Maybe like a couple months at best. But like you can play brand new games for essentially like $9.99 or $14. I have Game Pass Ultimate. It's like $14.99 a month. Like you're stupid not to have Game Pass. Honestly, if you are a power player, you need Game Pass.
Yes, I am a power player.
Great, like we discovered that game. What was it? Carry On, I think it was called.
Carry On. Yeah.
What a fucking pleasant surprise that game was, and I should get back to it. I got stuck. I got Metroid stuck in that game. I got to the point where I was like, I don't know how to fucking progress.
That's my other point with Game Pass, is that like there are so many games that I probably would have never touched that I'm just like, oh, well, it's free. Like, if I don't like it, I can just get rid of it. Like, and there's so many games that I've played that I've been like, this is actually really good. Like, I'm glad I got to play it, but I would have paid for this if I would have known it was this good.
Well, and through Game Pass, I finally got to play fucking Fallen Order, because they bundled EA shit into that game. So, like, Game Pass is start opening up to so many different avenues that, like, games that I wasn't going after initially, because, like, at $60, like, I got to fucking pick and choose here. Like, that just floated along, and I was like, oh, fuck, yes, finally I can play this. And, like, I just finished it recently. I love it to death. But yeah, it will just kind of just mosey a game along your way where you're like, I wasn't going to spend money on that, but here it is.
Yeah, there's like the indie representation on Game Pass is so well, they're so well like curated.
Yeah,
I guess the word.
I think that works. Yeah,
that's where I played. Oh shit, I think it's called like that's something Calvary game that's like made up of nothing but like old Renaissance art.
Yeah,
and like you can play the whole game by murdering everybody and finish the game in 10 minutes. And it's so
I would have I really like Superliminal this year, and I wouldn't have played that if it didn't come to fucking Game Pass.
Yeah.
I discovered. I know, Hunter, you hate this game, but I discovered 12 minutes because someone told me I should try it. And I think it's super interesting, if not a little ghoulish.
Did you get to the plot twist? Yeah. Did you get to the plot twist on it?
I mean, I ran out of patience, just like watch some endings on YouTube. So like,
do you want to know what happens?
Yeah.
So there's surprise incest, and so you know.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's why you hate it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on side note, like that was Annapurna, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
that they I will give them credit. They swing for the fences. They don't always hit, but they
they
are
take
trying a
chances, and
lot of different stuff.
I respect them. I respect them for the swings they take.
Oh, and I
Honestly,
think Game Pass is where I discovered this game called like This War of Ours, and it's
Yeah.
that is a fantastic little game that I was really
Yes.
blown away by. I haven't finished. Like Arlen, this is a game that you should play.
That game is really good.
It is a 2D like puzzle / like actioner that's like it's like light action, but like the backdrop is World War One, isn't it?
Oh,
I want to say it is.
And it's like you play as like 5 or 6 revolving characters in one of the world wars, and like it is centered in like it's deeply seated in like Poland and like the surrounding areas. Like you play as these 5 Europeans during one of the world wars.
It's very vague on what war it is, because it's like, I think the whole idea of like this could happen anywhere. Like it's
and also
not
like they set up the fact that like that main like they kind of imply that like most of these characters might be dead, but it started like as you start the game, and you get to play through their like little individual stories, and like there's no dialogue, it's all music, and it's all like the graphics are like this little like these like almost like paper looking things, like it's very 2D. It's all like hand drawn and hand animated. There's
are
a
you
level.
talking about the one from Ubisoft?
I think so.
No, that's Valiant Hearts. What you're thinking?
Yeah, Valiant Hearts is
Yeah.
This one, it's like it's from a Polish studio, Admit Studios.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about when you say This War of Mine. I just wasn't sure because I haven't really messed with it much. So
yeah, it's one of the.
I mean, mission where I think
cool.
there's a whole mission where like you have to drive away. You do I think you do evade Nazis or something like that, or like evade some kind of enemy, but like it syncs to music, and like they're using a lot of like old like classical music, so like you have to basically drive this car to the beat of the song.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a cool game.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was Children of Morta, which is a roguelite, but it's also a twin stick role playing game.
I tried. I don't know what it is about twin stick shooters. I cannot do it.
I love that game. I love that
too
game.
much for my brain.
Good. I went through and I leveled everybody up. But yeah, it's honestly.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I am thinking of Valiant Hearts. That's what I'm thinking.
I was gonna say when you said it was when you said it was cartoony, I was like, because I was gonna ask.
Yeah,
Valiant dog at one.
Valiant Hearts is set in World War One.
Yeah. You do play as a dog. That's right. Yeah, you play as a dog.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're in the trenches, and yeah, that's definitely World War One. But yeah, that's great. But yeah, I mean, it's just the fact that we've mentioned all these different types of games, and they're readily available to basically play for free. Because I mean, if you're paying for Game Pass, it's $14 a month or whatever it is. Yeah, you cannot miss on having it if you have an Xbox. It is phenomenal and worth every penny.
Nice.
That was me.
I guess I'll go and I'll piggyback off the video game thing, and also you've kind of inspired me to change a pick on the fly here, because 2020 and 2021 do feel kind of the same. I would like to talk about a journey I've had with a specific game that came out, and I was like, "This is fine," and then I was like, "This is shit." And now that I've dumped probably 1,000 hours into it, I really love it, and that's Marvel's Avengers. And I know everybody kind of it, but like I have stuck with this game through thin and thick, through the War for Wakanda release, through the Hawkeye release, the Kate Bishop release, and like after playing it for this long and kind of getting entrenched into, I guess, like the culture around it, and like finding players on YouTube who like are min-maxing their character to the point where like I found some guy who's got Thor hitting for 700,000 damage, and I need to know how the fuck he did that.
I do dabble in this game whenever the expansions come out, and I feel like there is a lot of this game that people were very unfair to, that feels like almost like they wanted it to fail, and now it is failing because of them. Almost, it's a game that I feel like didn't get a fair shake.
It had a lot of negative publicity behind it because it showed a ton of potential with the single player story, and then the multiplayer just didn't live up to what it was trying to be. and that's
Also, it was
like,
woke trash, Eric, because it had a woman main character.
obviously.
Honestly, Kamala is. You know what? Here, Kamala is awesome in that story.
she
and makes me
rules.
laugh all the fucking time. Despite how like it is over the top sometimes with how fan servicey it is, where like she wrote a fan fiction thing and like Thor remembers it. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, but I kind of like that kind of thing.
I also
That's also in character. That's what makes that.
It's in character. It's fine. And also Thor being like walk up and being like, every hero starts somewhere. I'm like, oh, he would fucking say that.
Yeah.
That motherfucker.
Also,
he's got that cheesy dad energy.
Yeah, I have a history of just hating stretchy characters. I don't know what it is about that power. I can't stand it. I think it looks
I get
dumb.
it.
But and which is why I don't play as her, but I think she's charming as all shit. And like the fact that she gets to have the moment in the story where she saves the Hulk and Banner's like, this whole time I thought I was mentoring you. I thought was very good. The story gets good. The Black Panther stuff was great. I think the final level of War for Wakanda is trash. It is quite bad. However, I just did they're doing a Cosmic Surge event, which is like a 10-day event where like everybody gets, all your characters get this permanent buff in these select missions where like you hit extra hard, your damage gives you health back. And it's one of the best status effects in the game. And basically they have these series of missions where all your characters get that. And then if you meet these certain conditions, everybody gets exotic gear. And like, I've discovered a new joy in that where I'm like, oh, objectives, like find out, just start grinding this shit out. And like, now I have all this like ridiculous gear for characters. My Thor is so untouchable. I have a video on my phone, I think, or on my Xbox. I saved it. I hit the Bifrost on this group of enemies, and I have it so like it does residual fire damage, and then I hit like his like assist buff, which makes you essentially untouchable. Like lightning just strikes wherever you close, and then I have another thing that basically turns the hammer into a lightning rod. So if you throw it, it starts sparking off little lightning bolts. I stood in a circle, didn't move, and watched everything around me die. Like, I've gotten so good at that game that I'm enjoying it on a whole different level. And I'm playing it it's like my new Dark Souls. I love it to death. And I've gotten all the MCU costumes, and like at this point they're getting a little egregious though. Like if they just released a Black Widow one, I'm like, the Black Widow costume from Endgame is identical to the one in Black Widow. Okay, you're not fooling me here.
Yeah, but did Scarlett Johansson sue them over that, or do we?
I doubt it.
Exactly. She's gonna work with Quantic Dreams next.
Oh no! David Cage is gonna get photos of her when she was a kid.
Exactly. Yeah. But
they're gonna model her naked. I think it's a very fun game. I'm hoping it lives long enough to have all its content roll out. And I did multiplayer for a bit. I think the raid is broken right now. It's full of some of the worst things about that game. But I have done multiplayer with people, and that's really fucking fun because people seem to sink into like. I was playing I think a raid with 3 Thors, and that was a blast because it's just 3 idiots just flying around striking shit with lightning. Like it's just
so it's like the Big Boys from Hellbound, that show that was just on Netflix.
The Sasquatches.
Yeah, the big black smoke Sasquatches.
And like I was playing with and like I don't use a mic because I don't talk to people when I game unless I know you. But like I was playing as Cap, and like all I did was salute people, and they were and like I could hear them reacting to it. Like it was so much fun. And like at high level play, like that game really opens the fuck up. Like I've got Hawkeye and Kate Bishop right now. I'm leveling them up, and like getting Hawkeye to that level was really infuriating. But now that he's there, I had that video where I walked up and just dropped his ultimate heroic in a room, and everything just died. I didn't have to do anything. The ultimate took care of everything for me. It's very, very fun. I hope it gets a second lease on life. I think it deserves it. But I also understand Guardians coming along and just making people look at it and go like, I mean, why would I go back to that? So.
All right, Hunter, I guess you're next.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta pull up my list again.
How dare you?
My number 4 pick is a YouTuber. His name is Action Bun, and I've discovered this guy. He's a former Kotaku writer who used to do these crazy videos where he'd have these like insanely verbose reviews about stuff like Katamari Damacy and stuff. And he's been doing this new thing. It's called it's both a game developer and a YouTube channel where he does long form reviews. And I watched this 6-hour long review of a dating simulator that is Japanese only. He was like hinting that he might try to translate it. Like that's a thing. But he's just an incredible well-spoken person who does really insane thoughtful reviews on video games. And generally, I think in terms of like video game reviewers, there's not a lot of people like Tim Rogers who can write these long-winded, basically word salad, but like still innovating reviews. Highly recommended if you have not seen.
I can piggyback off that and say, like, this is one of my formal picks, but like me discovering incognito mode a few weeks ago has been a fucking revelation. Okay, like everyone, and I discovered like his Video Game Explored series and like his old In the Field stuff and like some of the live animation shit he does. Like that is a comedic voice on YouTube that I have ignored for far too long. And all of his content is so fucking good. And like there's I think Arlen, I've said to you, there's a mythology episode he does. It's like 30 minutes long, and it's fucking hysterical. They just go down and break down the whole myth of Orpheus, like in this super sarcastic, snappy, fucking British Australian way. It's so good.
It's amazing. But yeah, that's all I really had to say about Action Button. Go check them out. Right. Support them on Patreon.
No.
Okay.
Erik has spoken.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Arlen, I guess you're up.
Yeah, I guess. Real quick, Connor, that was an official pick you just said before there, or was that that was
honorable. Me just piggybacking off of what he said. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay, my next pick is a movie from earlier this year, as things looked like they were going to be going back to normal. I don't know if we remember that like 2-week period where things were looking up. So my pick is The Green Knight.
Nice.
Yeah, which
I think it's in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of the movies that I just like think of a lot. That's oftentimes what makes something go on this list is, am I still thinking about it? Is it still like staying in my mind in a very in a lingering sense? And yeah, there's like so many moments from this movie just really stuck with me. Seeing Aaron Kellerman like maybe 2 weeks after Captain America and the Winter Soldier closed was interesting. She plays like a ghost in that movie. Really creepy ghost. Yeah, and just like this has been an ongoing thing where people know that I have particular taste towards historical tinged things. And this, like, it never made me angry at any point. Like, I was like, this is how you should do a King Arthur thing, or a thing that's King Arthur adjacent. And, you know, and it balanced fantasy and, like, trying to be verisimilituitous, and also just, like, having a really compelling story. It's a very old story, but the way that it was done was just exceptional.
I was happy actually with the changes they made to the original story. Like they're very minor, but they were smart choices for what they were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, and also like it's a movie that features seminal fluids, which is Connor's favorite part, I bet.
Yes.
The one thing I'm trying to get away from.
Yeah, you don't see it happening per se, but you see Lara Croft give that dude from Slumdog Millionaire a hand job.
Yeah. It's a pretty surreal moment. The only problem I have with this movie,
Lara Croft, do we mean Vikander or Jolie?
Vikander.
Okay.
It would be great if it was both of them,
alright.
though. That would
At
have
the
been
same time.
spectacular. No, but
the
the
same
one thing I
time.
have to bring up when I talk about this movie, and I'll
Two
bring it
girls,
up
one
every
brain.
time. God damn it. This will be on my tombstone probably at some point. A man sat right next to me in the theater, directly next to me. I'm
Oh,
never
get
going to
fucked.
not be angry about this. He was almost as close to me as Alicia Vikander was to Dev Patel in the movie.
Wow.
It was just like so awkward, and I wanted to turn to this man and say, have you never been to a movie before? I was so befuddled by this man sitting directly next to me in an almost empty theater.
Hold on.
What
And then
the
he said,
fuck?
and then he looked at you after the movie and he said, "Hey, have you heard of the tablet?"
That would, you know what? I would have been all right with that. But he was just like he just like sat there after I had left. Because I think he knew it was awkward, and I hope that he sat in that awkwardness and let it burn him from the inside. Because I was just so pissed off. And now I have a policy. If I'm in an empty theater and somebody sits right next to me, I'm going to be the biggest asshole on the planet Earth about it. I am going to yell at this person.
Photo of Jesus Christ.
That might work actually better. That might actually get me better results.
There you go, sir. Take this. He just gets
Because I can't even describe. And this was 2 weeks after I had gotten my final COVID shot. So I was in this place of like, do not sit next to me. Yeah, well, yeah, that too. But also like, this is the thing that happened. AMC, and there was like a month period where it was really nice for this. They were still doing the blocked off seats for a while there, until Washington opened all the way up, until we entered phase 1 or 4 or whatever the phases were.
Oh, that hurts.
And it was actually nice because nobody could sit directly next to you. And this was, I think, the first movie I went to where they weren't doing that thing and blocking the seats out. And I was just like,
still like theaters mostly were closed, and when they reopened, they were being careful as they could be. But I don't like shortly after things go back to semi-normal.
Yeah,
for that
what
short
are you
window.
doing?
Yeah, exactly. Like
It's just...
continue to treat things as they were until everything is back to normal.
Yeah, it was.
No, they got to start and stop over and over again.
Yeah.
I
don't want to think about it.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like we're approaching a lockdown that we should have had at the very beginning of all this.
Yeah.
Well, shut up. Walmart needs to be open.
Yeah, I need to go to Applebee's. You don't understand.
Exactly. Am I the?
So anyway, I think we can go to Erik.
I was just going to ask, am I the only other one who has seen it other than Arlen?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I have
not either.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for it to streaming.
It's pretty goddamn great.
It's pretty good. I think
it caught my attention. It caught my attention when it was coming out because, like, visually, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Dev Patel is amazing, and
also I had no idea that it was another adaptation of, like, I mentioned that to that movie, which is like this man walks into this man walks into a like some royal court, and he's like, someone just cuts his fucking head off, and he's like, "Body, come to me," and I was like, "What the fuck was that about?"
Yeah, well, that's the one thing. Like, I'm kind of glad they didn't end the movie the way they end the story, and that's all I'm going to say. It's they don't give you the super happy ending. They just they do a bait and switch, and then something else happens, and that's it. But yeah, it's really good, and I would encourage both of you to see it as soon as you can. Like, it's
it's definitely
I might do that in Excalibur in a little sitting.
That would be an interesting sitting. Yeah,
that will be fascinating. Also, you get to see,
especially depending on which one you see first.
Exactly. Yes. Well, I think one was heavily inspired by the other, so it actually might just work really, really well. Also, you get to see a fox vibe with some giants, so that was cool.
Yeah, man.
All right. That's pretty great. Yeah, it's pretty dope. I also heavily recommend the people who are enthusiasts of the bud that say, You should toke up when you watch this movie. It's not my thing,
It's
but
a
if that's your
bomb.
thing,
Toke
I
up.
think this
Okay,
will work
Grandpa.
well for you.
What are you, 150 years
I'm gonna
old?
smoke
Jesus.
that Mary
You're
Jane.
Maybe.
I don't even say
You're gonna
that.
smoke a doober while you watch
We're
it.
gonna there you go, have some
Exactly.
of that
A
devil weed.
jazz cigarette.
Cigarette.
That's
Yeah.
the devil's lettuce.
There you go. All right. Well, before we lose our minds again, I'll go with my next one. Mine was also a film from someone that most of us are fans of. Some of us haven't seen all of his movies yet, which should be rectified. And they managed to pull off what I didn't think was possible. But Dune this year, holy shit, that movie!
Man, my list has been already tackled by pretty much everybody so far. So
That movie had no right to be as good as it was, but it had every right to be as good as it was based on who the director was. Like that.
well,
That movie came together so well.
Having done the thing where we went back and like rewatched the original one, like I'm so glad this movie exists now because like man, that one is hot garbage. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm not sorry. That movie sucks. Like
that's the thing. Like I had just rewatched the David Lynch one like probably a month before this one came out, and I forgot how many of the broad strokes David Lynch got right. But there's such an odd tone, and not like an odd David Lynch tone, just an odd tone to the David Lynch version that makes it insufferable. And
it's also got the Gumby shields.
Yeah,
the
Roblox
it's just
shields.
hard. It's just hard to watch too.
Yeah,
we brought this up a lot, but it's just not a fun experience.
No,
well, like it's also it has this like it's almost like a speed racer effect where like a character will say something and then you'll be trapped with their thoughts for like 30 seconds and then they'll start talking again.
Yep.
And it's like what are you doing here? Like Paul Atreides, like I said, like my most common memory of that movie after seeing it when I was really little was just close-ups of Kale MacLachlan going spice. Like
the tooth, the poison tooth. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, it's the Dune book is full of a lot of like exposition at times and internal monologues. So I can't 100% blame Lynch for trying that, but that's neither here nor there. Like the new one, they managed to get all of those ideas across without having you have a obviously like 20-something-year-old Kyle MacLachlan saying the things in his head. Like they just have it happen and you get the story that needs to be told. And I kind of think it was a bad idea to not have the second film ready to go sooner because things aren't looking so hot right now, and it kind of makes me wonder when we're going to see that second film. I know the first one did well, but
yeah,
it's gonna be a minute.
It's shaky ground. Yeah, and
yeah,
we'll see. I'm just so happy that it worked. And there was like there was a weird nervousness I had. I love every Denny movie that I've seen, even the ones that I don't like as much.
Yeah, I love Dennis.
I still love. You know, I don't love Enemy, but I think everybody should see Enemy at least once in their life.
Nope.
Just
no,
come on, Hunter, come on. Just come on. Everybody needs that experience.
I'm a huge coward.
It's quite good.
Come on, Hunter. Come on. But no, like
come on, watch Terrified.
yes. Yes. Perhaps. But no, like the last the Blade Runner 2049, one of my favorite movies of this century that we're currently in, and just period, didn't do very well.
No, it didn't.
A lot of his movies don't do super well.
No.
It's like Arrival and Sicario are like
they
the two
review
biggest.
amazingly.
Yeah.
They review amazingly, but even then, like, did Arrival really do that well, or did it just do well for one of his movies?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like relative, and also I don't completely attribute Arrival's success to this, but it came out a week after the Agent Orange one, and I think that played a big part in like people going to see that movie, and the fact that it has like this very hopeful, warm ending really did something for a lot of us in that moment who were feeling feelings really hard. And I attribute that to a lot of the movies that people really loved in that year. I obviously still wouldn't change my opinion on the movie Moonlight, but I think a lot of the response to that movie came from the fact that people were feeling attacked by forces in the world at the time, and the love for that movie was amplified. Yes. Eric, like Dune would have been on my list if I felt like it was really hard for me to choose between Green Knight and Dune, and which one I felt was more our shit. And I just had to go with the one that was more my thing.
I totally get that.
So yeah.
I totally get that. Honestly, I forgot Green Knight came out. Like I own it. I enjoy it. Like I bought it digitally, but yeah, it's just these last 2 years have been so combined, and I've lost track of time on like, wait, how is it now? Like, when did I see that? Was that yesterday? Was that 6 months ago?
Yeah,
I don't know anymore.
Things like today, I was like, so what's this list going to be? And like, I kept going to things that came out last year, like and going like, there's no way that came out last year. Like, that's impossible.
Yep. It's great. We live in a hellscape. Our fucking country is a dildo fucking dumpster. That's on fire. Christ. That's me. Dune was so much better than I could have hoped it was going to be, because same thing, Arlen. I was very nervous about this movie. Like, I was waiting for it to be like, well, that was great. We got to part 1 at least, and that was going to be it. Because it did shockingly well because of being on HBO Max.
Yeah, I expected. Here's what I expected: a big version of the response to The Witch. That's what I expected.
Yep.
You know, The Witch, one of my favorite movies, but like the response to that movie from like half the people who see it is, it's not scary, and I don't understand what any of the people are saying. And I expected it to really be that times a million, just like, you know, entire Facebook groups full of people who are like, I didn't understand what was going on. And I'm not saying that it didn't exist.
I'm sure you can find them.
Yeah. But more people were like willing to go on the ride and just like not be dumb, or like try, like put effort in.
See where it was actually going to go.
Yeah. And I really appreciated that about the way that movie was taken in. So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think to its credit, I think the barrier of entry was removed by having it on HBO Max.
Yes,
because I didn't get to see it in IMAX because my local IMAX theater played it for like 2 weeks and then was like, all right, we've got other things we want to show.
I'm glad you brought that up, Eric. The IMAX or the HBO Max part. I know of multiple people who I was in the theater with who I heard in the background saying they had already seen it. And it's the first time that I can think of where that was the story for all the movies that did the HBO Max release, which has been controversial throughout the entire year and never stopped being controversial.
For dumb reasons.
Yeah, and it's a clear answer to why the people who were like, this is the end of movies, or, you know, other things, why those people are wrong.
I'm glad.
Because I think giving people options in the perfect situation can only be good. And it worked out in a not perfect situation extremely well.
I wanted to go throw money at it, and I couldn't because it wasn't playing at IMAX anymore. So, but yeah, Dune, phenomenal. Connor, you're up. Whatever you have left of your list.
This is my last one. So this one had a journey. And before it came out, I was like, I'm very curious to see it. Although his body of work is very checkered, and we've kind of established that he can really shit the bed when the time comes. That being said, Zack Snyder's Justice League is easily my favorite movie of the year, and that surprises me, as I'm sure it surprises other people. But like, I have gone back and watched that movie probably a dozen times this year. I fall asleep to it. I know that it doesn't really gel with what some people have in their heads for like a DC universe, but the more I watch it, I'm like, This is one of the most sincere, well-intended, like just really wrapping itself in this universe DC movies I've ever seen, and I really appreciate the shit out of it. And like a lot of it hits harder than it did the first time out. Like, I'm sorry, but like when Superman comes in to kick the shit out of the fucking Steppenwolf at the end, I cheer every single fucking time because he doesn't just wallop Steppenwolf in a cup. It's an extended bullying session of Steppenwolf. So good.
The subtitle of that movie could be "The Bullying of Steppenwolf."
And like I didn't think that there was much to salvage from the studio cut of Justice League, and then like seeing how much was cut out of this and how much of it worked, and like the stuff that doesn't, like it, you can get rid of it. It doesn't change anything, but like the stuff that did work was so good, and there was so much of it, like Cyborg, all the little interactions between the team members, like Alfred and Diana making the fucking tea together, Bruce saying like, I'm doing things based off of faith, Steppenwolf being a genuinely terrifying villain as opposed to someone who's just going, my mother boxes, blah. Which is why I think the massive and like violence party that he gets put on him at the end is very necessary, because he spends all that whole movie massacring Atlanteans and Amazonians, and the two people who give it to him the worst are Diana and Arthur, and that's very appropriate. I think it's uncharacteristically sweet for a Zack Snyder movie. I think it's one of the most spectacular versions of Batman we've had in a long time. I think it's a gorgeous movie to look at. I watched it in 4K. Holy shit. I think it's, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but like I think it's a really fantastic and mesmerizing vision of what these movies can be, because he didn't just make a comic book movie. He made like it's a fantasy movie, it's an epic, it's also a comic book movie, but like it's really endearing to see a director get an opportunity to go absolutely balls to the fucking wall with every trick he has and watch most of them work. And I think it's just a special little movie. I went out and bought it on Blu-ray. Like, I don't buy movies anymore. I bought this movie on Blu-ray. Which is funny because I can stream it in 4K on my fucking Xbox and it looks even better. But yeah, I think it's really, really good, and I'm really I'm sad it's not going on, but like if this is how this whole pocket universe ends, I'm fine with it. Like I think it's stunning, and I think to me it rewrote how I see Zack Snyder, because I kind of thought he was like this, very. I've seen his tricks and I've seen them fail. In this case, like I was like, you use old tricks, but you use them so differently, and then you went like in directions I didn't expect him to go, and he really floored me as a filmmaker. That, and like again, the situation around it like just begs for empathy and sympathy, and like he's just kind of come out of that as like a person I really admire. So yeah.
I really liked it. I'm not gonna go into all the bullshit with how Warner Brothers handled his daughter dying, all that. We've talked about that ad nauseum at this point. My biggest thing is, where is the Zack Snyder who made this movie back when he was doing Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman? Where was this guy who showed that he had all of these amazing plans for things going forward? Like,
I wonder if he just didn't, at the time, he just didn't kind of understand what he had.
I think his perspective has had some radical changes to it, and like I think he was working on this movie before his daughter passed away, but like maybe some things did change halfway when that happened.
Sure.
Maybe maybe he saw the reaction to Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman was like, maybe my outlook is damaging how people are seeing these movies, and maybe I should change things. He seems like a lovable geek who really gets super enthusiastic about his work and sometimes bites off more than he can chew. I mean, like, where was this guy for fucking Guardians of Gahul? Like,
well, that's very different than the flagship franchise that is supposed to be going up against Marvel's billion-dollar.
like when And it doesn't make Batman vs Superman a better movie, but it makes it a more interesting one. I think it makes it easier to watch because you can see the
Right.
things he's trying to do. However, like the execution in BVS is just so wildly different and it's
Yeah.
just so bad.
It's the Civil War effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
just,
like in Justice League, like all these seeds he planted are paid off so well. I'm like, man, like you did have this grand idea, and like it sucks that you will never get to finish it, but like it is cool to see someone take this stuff and just not like I love the MCU, but the MCU
Mhm.
is very formulaic and they do
Yep.
what works. And Snyder was like,
Yeah.
fuck it, I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want with these characters and just
Mhm.
go as crazy as I can and like introduce all this other shit and like have a Batman who's so moody, who gets to be so likable. He perpetuated the "Let's make Aquaman cool again" movement, I guess. Um, uh, like it's
Mm.
his idea of the Amazons is great. Like, I'm sorry, that one line where Steppenwolf says, "I've come to I think it's to bathe in your blood and bask in your fear," and the Amazons are like, "Yeah, show them your fear," and they just start kicking the shit out of him. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I just think it's really interesting to have like that level of commitment and like a 4-hour epic for a comic book movie. I think it's just wild and I love it. And I don't think we're
Mm.
ever going to see something like that again. So I treasure it to this day, and I think it's going to be it's easily one of my favorite movies ever made so far. And I will probably revisit a lot, the same way I revisit like Fury Road and Grand Budapest Hotel. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
I mean, I didn't love it as much as you did, but I mean, you are more of a DC fan than
yeah,
you are a Marvel fan,
Mhm.
so that automatically has some bearing on it.
yeah,
But yeah,
and
Yeah, you
like
kill.
like the fucking the Speed of Force scene where Barry hits the Speed Force. I was like, like every
Yeah.
fucking muscle in my body tensed up. I was like, this is it. I'm gonna fucking see it. This is the fucking Speed Force in the big screen. And like, yeah, the blue lightning bothers me, but like that was perfect. That whole
Mm.
sequence is mesmerizing.
yeah,
Um.
it's go ahead, Arlen.
I have complex feelings on that movie still.
Yeah.
I agree a lot with a lot of what all of you have said already. You know, for me, that movie was the biggest indictment and defense of Zack Snyder simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and his position as an artist and what him as an artist means really shifted in my head, and I had to re-examine a lot of my previous opinions and biases about him. And I had to really like look at things that I had thought before skeptically. Well, at the same time, I was found that a lot of my assumptions were exactly correct, and that's always an interesting experience to me. You know, and it doesn't come around very often, where you suddenly have to look at everything that you've ever thought about somebody differently. You just have to shift all of it. Suddenly, this person is a new person to you because of something that they make. Um, and that was an interesting experience in itself. And there are aspects of that movie where I was like, where I do agree, like, yeah, where was this Zack Snyder
Yeah.
during Man of Steel, and was this Zack Snyder there? And he was just cut out by studio executives who were pursuing
That's a good point.
something else. It's just an interesting thing, and I'm glad that it exists for that reason. That we get
Mhm.
to really, the challenging of assumptions. That was something that I really appreciated.
And I'm also glad it exists because, like we said it in the review we did for the Snyder Cut, like it's not every day. In fact, it's rare. It rarely ever happens. Does an artist get to walk away with a W over a studio? Like
Yeah.
without having
Yeah.
to do too much, Zack Snyder walked in, got his movie made, got to walk out, and like he walked away essentially smelling like roses. And WB looks like a bunch of incompetent shitheads like,
Mhm.
through and throughout. Like, and I was watching this guy. I can't remember what his position is, but his name's Chris Gore, and he's like I think he's a
Mm.
screenwriter, and he's got he does movie like commentary in the film industry, and he's like, and he said something similar to what you did. He's like, Zack Snyder's Justice League is one of the biggest indictments on how much of a fucking stooge show Warner Brothers is. He's like, how did you look at that and then bring in Joss Whedon and just release this abominable film in the theaters and go, yeah, good enough. We did it. We won this one. And then like at the end of the day, they had to spend $70 million more to get this one finished. And like when you could have just not spent that money and just let him finish it the first time. And knowing now what we know about that movie, like, would it have been all that bad to maybe cut this down to 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and release it and write off what I would assume would be positivity and maybe this universe could have been continuing and maybe you wouldn't have to be scrambling to once again compete with your contemporaries. Like there was such an easier way to do this, and Warner Bros. Chose the hardest path possible, and it still blows my mind.
Well, we don't have to go down the entire road because we've discussed this many times. But I will say, I would have had problems with it because I'm such a big Aquaman fan. I would have had real problems with the way that they handle Atlanteans in that movie. But yeah, it's an interesting what if.
And I do like it as like this little pocket universe where it's almost like it is, to me, it is like it's the best version of the Injustice tone, where it is kind of darker and is a little meaner, but like it's not as edgy and it's not as fucking immature. Because I think the longer Injustice goes, I think it's the worst branded DC thing going.
I mean, this is me throwing Zach a big compliment. I don't think he could be as immature. I don't think he could be as like just wrong.
How shitty is your product when like when a hypothetical Zack Snyder goes like, "What are you fucking doing? Ew!" Like,
yeah, it's like, and on that note, like, I never was against the idea of Zack Snyder doing DC things. I still do think that it was not a good idea for this to be the mainline DC thing. If he had just made movies that were meant to be a mirror universe, like what they're doing with the Batman, which is why I really like that they're doing that with the Batman, where they're saying out front, this is not the main Batman. This is not the guy who's going to be showing up in a possible future Justice League. This is his own thing. If they had done that from the beginning, I think everybody's opinions would be
this new Batman is also Warner Brothers running back to what works, which is not a unified universe. Just, hey, here's a one-off. Hey, here's another one-off that might be connected, but we're not going to say for sure.
I mean, they could do that and eventually have a Justice League and be like, hey, like here's a one-time team up.
And they can change their mind tomorrow. But there's a degree of honesty that I actually have to thank your pick here, Connor, for I think inspiring. I don't think the Batman is being sold as an Earth 2 movie 18 months out from release, if not for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So if anything, I'm glad that it inspired honesty in the people that make these movies, and awareness.
Well, it's like they consistently downplayed it, said it was never going to happen. We're not going to do it. And then they do it. And then the reaction is probably not at all what they expected. And they got, not only did Snyder get a win over them, but like movie going, audience members essentially got to look at them and just laugh at them, be like, wow, like, what the fuck do you know? Like, we understand this better than you do. So they had to concede to the arguments being laid against them, and now they just I don't think they have a choice but to be honest, because now the smokescreen is fucking we've seen through it. We've seen what charlatans they are and how badly they can fail.
Well, also Discovery Plus is going to release a documentary series about future DC movies, and we're going to see all the drama. Zach Baggins and Eli Roth will be there. On that note, Hunter, we should go to your next pick.
Hunter, your next choice, I believe.
My number 3 choice is No Way Home. Because
I didn't want to put on the list because I can't condense my thoughts into a couple.
I don't want to. this is something I don't want to spoil because I feel like there's still people who haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It is. This is like the culmination of what I didn't realize that what the MCU was doing with Spider-Man until I saw No Way Home, and this is probably I'm just gonna say it's the best Spider-Man movie. Like it is so good, and it nails everything it tries to do. It's just a fantastic film.
But
That's it.
Tom Holland isn't 38 and having back
Oh well,
problems. And
and he didn't bully anyone on the Cider House Rules.
It wasn't directed by Sam Raimi, and he didn't kill a Mexican man by jamming a knitting needle through their eye.
Hold on.
No, I just made that up. I just like making things up about Tobey Maguire.
No, I don't see he cried when he died. What a pussy.
Yeah. It's amazing to me that I didn't realize after seeing this movie that the way they were going about this, and this isn't a spoiler, but they were telling the origin story of Spider-Man through 3 movies.
Yeah.
And it works so fucking well. It works so well. Like there isn't a moment in that movie that I wasn't entertained. Like, and I knew what most of the major plot points were too, because the fucking internet is stupid and it spoils everything.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. I was still so happy to see the things that I got to see on screen. And it's minor spoiler. If you follow movie news at all, it's not a shock that Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in it. I was shocked how much I liked Garfield's Spider-Man in this movie, which shows that he just did not get a fair shake.
Garfield was never the problem. It's the movies he's in. And even the movies he's in, like the stuff he's directly involved with, he elevates. The scene where Gwen dies is gut wrenching.
There are a couple of moments that I think even he would want struck from the record, like him hanging off that bar by the Hudson River, and him talking about web design. But I agree, like there are moments in those movies where he is doing such a great job. I don't think him and Emma have aged that well. Their weird cutesy relationship, but they are they're acting their asses off in those movies, despite them being not good scripts
in those movies.
Also, I think Tobey Maguire was remarkably likable. And there's one particular scene at the end where he pulled a visceral reaction out of me. He does something towards the end where I was like, that was the best call creatively, and it almost brought a tear to my eye. However, to me, the MVP of that fucking movie is Willem Dafoe. Holy shit.
Yes.
Is he on absolute fucking fire? Also, it seems like the Green Goblin's been studying pro wrestling. So
he does multiple suplexes in that movie.
He's
spine busters. Minor spoiler. He spine busters Tom Holland through 3 apartment floors. Okay,
he does. It's so fucking sick.
It's amazing.
His ass up and slams him like The Rock. Okay,
it's kind of to the people that are like the MCU is all the same. Blah blah blah. It's the kind of superhero fighting that I don't think we've seen in like 20 years.
We haven't. Like
even what happened in Blade 2, and when you go back and watch Blade 2, you're like, oh, they would never have Blade break his own arm and then punch a man in a new Blade movie. It's the kind of stuff that you just don't see anymore. I was very happy.
It is the most visceral fighting I've seen in an MCU movie at Civil War.
And that's the thing. Like, I would say Civil War and Winter Soldier were the most quote unquote violent MCU films we've had. And this one is just like, hold my beer.
It comes close.
This one is like, this one has multiple shots of just like someone just waylaying on somebody, and like, but the funny thing is, like, the person getting waylaid on is just laughing it off.
On this note, the best Spider-Man combat I've ever seen in any movie, like his combat. If I just all Spider-Man things that have ever existed, like the best combat for me before this was the games. Like that was the thing that nailed it the best. Where it's the acrobatic nature and it's the flying, and it's just Yeah.
There's
Yeah, no.
literally like whole things from the game in the movie too, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
It's so good.
Yeah, it just.
Yeah. Well, Tom talked about how much he wanted things from the game in the movie. He was like, yeah. He wanted poses and like moments from like Peter from the game and stuff.
Minor spoiler, like Feast is in the game and in the movie. Like it's like it's they do lift things wholesale.
That third suit with the micro bot like spider, that's very close to the white spider suit. Very, very close. So yeah.
No, good call, Hunter. That movie. Yeah, I still want to go see it again. Like that's how much I liked it, but I'm not going to get to at this point. So have to wait until it's streaming.
I think the only reason it's not on my list is I just think it's too soon.
That was kind of my reasoning too.
Yeah. I need to sit with it a little bit, but it's a very good pick, extremely good pick. So yeah.
Arlen, your choice.
This is the once a year where I force you guys to grapple with my music taste.
I'm gonna go get something to drink.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna take a quick power nap.
No, I'll just say this. I'll just say this thing, and then we can move on. This is a returning person actually. Michelle Zahner was the music thing that I picked last year, and she released a new full album from Japanese Breakfast. It was a fantastic album. I've listened to it many times over the year. I saw her live in concert.
Whoa!
In Seattle. Because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this. Oh yeah. I went to I went over there and I was like, I'm gonna make this city mine. No, I mostly stayed in a hotel room for a majority of the time because once I got there, I think, or no, like the night before going there, Delta was really starting to pick up, and it was becoming a thing, and I was like, well, it's too fucking late now to do anything about this, so I guess I'm going. So yeah, like I went and I had a great time. And I anticipated not being able to go to any concerts or do anything else that fun or interesting for the next 2 years. Let's say just say 2 years just to be safe. So yeah, that's my pick.
And guess what? You're right.
Yeah. And if you listen to any of Michelle Zahner's stuff, great. If you don't, that's fine. I acknowledge that I have very strange.
I really thought you were gonna be like, if not, well, fuck off.
Well, also that too. I don't care. I am who I am. So yeah. Anyway,
okay. I guess it's me. I know two of my choices are gonna wipe out one of yours, Arlen, and one of yours, Hunters. I'm gonna go with Midnight Mass. Mikey Flanagan cannot do wrong. Like he is batting 1,000 for me at this point. Like there's nothing I've seen from this man that I haven't enjoyed thoroughly, and all of the choices for actors in this show were perfect. Like unbelievably perfect choices. It started off slow, and then once you got to the twist, you're like, oh fuck, fuck. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you get to that boat and
well, and it's whatever. The show came out when? I mean, early part of this year. Was it October? I think it was October.
Like September 29th. Actually, funny story, I was watching the show the night of and the night before that concert that I went to. It was
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so whatever. I'm not the twist. It doesn't matter. People either know or they're not going to watch it.
I mean, in hindsight, the twist is kind of obvious.
It is. But I didn't know. Like, I wasn't sure if this was just going to be an indictment of the Catholic faith, which it kind of was. But
also, he doesn't do monster stuff. He does ghosts for the most part.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. It is an indictment.
Yeah. But I feel like this was his, like, hey, I want to do Salem's Lot. and this is what I would do if I could do it.
Yeah.
And
he did it, and it's arguably better.
And it's so much better than any version of Salem's Lot we've ever gotten. Like, I just, it's how is he so good? Like, how is he this good?
I love Rahul Kohli in this show. I think he's great.
He's so good.
He's amazing.
And Miss King, I want to do to that sheriff, and I'm a straight man. Oh my god!
His pussy is
Yeah, that what was it? The fourth episode was the one where God, who you thought was the lead character, and he goes and tells her the story
Riley.
of Riley.
Yeah, Riley.
The episode where Riley is on the boat. Like, the end of that episode was
mind blowing.
It was almost like how I felt after watching some episodes of Black Mirror, where I just had to sit there for a little while and be like,
Yeah, I had to turn the TV off. I had to I
think I took a break. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah, that was the last episode my wife and I watched for a night. We're like, yeah, we're done. Like, that's
that is honestly like
such a
moment of the year in television for me is him in the boat. Like, that's crazy.
Yes,
and that's such a heavy episode too. It's right after the baby and a bunch of other stuff, and
and just the way it ends with her screaming during the credits, nothing, just her
But also at the same time, there are so many moments early in the show where they endear you to these people, even the people that you hate.
Beverly Keane is the most favorite person in television.
Yes.
She's so evil in the best possible way, because they ride the line of like, we all know one of these people. We've all had one of these people in our lives at some point or another, or currently. And it's just so perfect. And then you have like her scene where Raul is doing his best to like explain his history and his backstory, and like or like to defend the Muslim faith to her. And there are these moments where I want to reach through the screen and like choke the life out of this woman. It's fantastic show. I'm Erik. Midnight Mass it's on my list, and it's one of the best shows of the year. And I think it might be Mikey's best. It was Hill House and Hush for a long time for me. It was between those two things, and this is high up there.
But what about Hunter's favorite Oculus? I don't know. I still
comment.
I still think I love Dr. Sleep.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
The Midnight Mass.
Director's cut, specifically.
Yes.
Director's cut.
Just because it threads that needle of, like I've said multiple times, of being true to the most part to the book, and also being a sequel to the Kubrick film. Like,
it's also very King fan servicey, which I know we've talked at length about Dick Halloran saying "Ka" and how fucking insane that was. Yeah, just like
But Midnight Mass, like, of his shows, is the one that resonated with me the most. Like, because I bounced off Bly Manor, and Hill House was great, but this was on a completely different level.
This is my favorite Mike Flanagan, honestly. I can't wait for the Fall House Slasher. That's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and Raul's coming back. I'm glad that he's building this like cavalcade of people that just keep coming back to his things, and they just keeps on growing into a better list. I really hope Hamill is going to be part of the list going forward. Because it's so perfect. And I think he's an actor who he deserves to have a big long speech. Like I feel like
he earned it.
He's the point.
He deserves to be in something other than as Mark Hamill
Or
Luke
Skywalker,
or a goofy character.
Right.
Like he hasn't had a
or the
serious
Joker.
Yes. He hasn't had a serious
Joker.
dramatic role that is outside of those weird wheelhouses, and that's it. That's all he's done. So yeah, I would love to see Hamill actually get something meaty, just like how Elliot from E.T. has been a now cast favorite for Flanagan.
Henry Thomas.
Yes, Elliot.
And Henry
Henry Zabrowski. Yeah. Well, Connor, your list we annihilated, correct, with all our choices?
Yes, you did.
Yes, but we do still have the honorable mention, or not the honorable mention, but the thing from past years. Connor, if you have one, if you don't, that's fine. But
I don't. I also am just steadily running out of steam because I've been at work from 7:15 in the morning, and
let's rush through this so Connor won't die. So Midnight Mass is my number 2, so I'll just go straight to my number 1, and it's Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. It is I was excited for this game when it was announced, and it came out and exceeded my expectations.
Out of nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
This is the same team that did.
But Hunter, he has bad hair.
Yeah, well, those people can suck my dick. It's the Deus Ex team. I can never pronounce the name. Deus Ex game developers, games that I love, and they haven't missed a step since Deus Ex at all. They've made this really good kind of Mass Effect light thing that's super linear, and it's just the writing and everything is so good about this game. I just really love it.
There are so many heartfelt moments that I was not expecting to get. Very, very specifically, Drax and Peter at Nowhere when they're talking. Holy fuck! And the fact that the end of the game touches back on moments that you had with characters or maybe didn't, so you won't get it. Honestly, when Drax's end credit whatnot came up, it made me choke up a little bit because it was so well done. It's just everything about that game was so well done. The combat can be a little samey in places, but
I feel like the combat is kind of it's just chicken tenders that you're dipping in sauce. The story is so good, you don't care. It's probably one of the best written games all year.
Yeah. I'm guessing, Arlen, you haven't played it at all yet.
Oh no, I've started it. I just haven't had time to get back to it.
Okay. And Connor, you haven't played it at all?
I haven't touched it yet.
Okay. Yeah, because then I don't want to talk about some of the stuff that happens later. Because
I don't want to. There's heavy spoilers that I can't tell you about things.
Yeah. Things that happen that you're like, holy shit, they're actually doing this.
That you don't want to know about. It really does a really good job as well as it's not the MCU. It's just it is they love the Guardians of the Galaxy and they made that team. It's a love letter to that team and it works so well. All the obscure characters that show up or a lot of the costumes are really good. It's just it did so well. I can't believe they made this game the way it is.
Yeah.
I can't believe there's people who hate it. I'm like, really? Did we play the same game?
I don't get that even from what I've played of it. The characters are really compelling so far. The gameplay is not it's not the kind of gameplay that I would consider frustrating after a certain point.
It's pretty easy. It's not a difficult game.
No.
Yeah, I mean, there are Assassin's Creed games that have made me furious in the past, so I don't. There are people who are like, "This is unplayable" or whatever. Or
I don't want to climb the fucking wall, and you climb the fucking wall.
I did not mean to stab the air. I was trying to stab that guy. God damn it! I pressed the focus button and everything. Anyways, back to your Guardians pick.
it's a game where I feel like people are kind of a little. It's similar to Avengers, but I feel like more in the sense of like this is a game that people are refusing to like play that I feel like they should play.
Yeah, I think Avengers left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and they don't understand that not every game is going to be the same thing coming out. Like Disney has made a whole lot of different deals with a whole lot of different producers and publishers, so you're going to have different gameplay with everything that comes out.
The fact that LucasArts is back is like such a like that in itself is such a sign of good faith that anyone who complains, I'm like, I don't know what you people want. Like, they're trying, and it's great.
You mean like the people that are complaining about the Book of Boba Fett about it being too
fan
servicey, but these are the same people
Star Wars show about Boba Fett.
Yeah, the same people that complained about all the new stuff not being as good as the originals. Like, what do you want? What do you want?
What are we talking about anymore?
What do you people want? There's nothing that will ever make you happy.
They don't know what they want.
No, they don't.
No, they don't. Because they'll complain about a movie not being enough like Star Wars one day, and then they'll complain that it's too much like Star Wars the next day, and it's just.
Yep. And then they'll dox female reviewers because they felt last was too woke. Anyways, Arlen, I guess we'll go on to your choice.
Yeah. So we're in
the final two. It should just be you and I.
Yeah, well, actually, so Midnight Mass was on my list, like you said. So I'm just on my last one.
Yeah, I've got one last one too. So,
which is actually, what is yours so far? I've been taking notes. So I want to make sure that I got it correct.
I had Dune, Midnight Mass, Game Pass, and that's 3. Fuck, I can't remember what because I've been erasing mine.
Just roll a d20.
No, that wasn't me.
I've been laying on the floor of my microphone, and that just fell out of my microphone. I have no idea what that was.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Whatever. It's no big deal. We'll figure it out. Anyways, go ahead, Arlen.
So this is my thing that didn't come out strictly this year. A thing that's older, and actually, Erik directed me to this, and I had a couple things that were here, but I listened to this show probably as much as any other podcast I listened to this year. It's the Magnus Archives. I've been talking about it in the various chats. I think I lapped Erik quite a bit.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it in a long time.
Yeah, I'm in the final season of the show now.
Jesus.
And things go some places. I'll do a little sell just because it's not. I don't think it's nearly as well known as any of the other things on my list. It's very Control, SCP Foundation adjacent podcast. Sort of 20, just under 20 minutes to just almost 30 minutes. Stories. Creepy stories about weird stuff going on with an overarching lore throughout all the episodes that develops more and more as the show goes on. And at its best, it's just some like really creepy shit. And the overarching arcs also are really good and really compelling. And the characters that you get to know are developed in very interesting ways that I really, really enjoyed. And yeah, it's just a very good, short little podcast. It's great as like I have 20 minutes before I'm home and I need to listen to something, so I just throw it on.
This.
And yeah, it's just really, really creepy in parts. I had to take a little bit of a break because I was working in a different situation where I was in a lot of basements and in a lot of liminal spaces where there weren't many people, and it's not a good show. It's not a good show for if you're working a job where you're just alone most of the time.
I will piggyback off this and say, like, this is the year that I took the biggest dive into the SCP Foundation. Like, I found multiple YouTube channels that cover it and, like, lots of different stuff like that and, like, animations and stuff. And Internet Historian, the Incognito Mode, had a take where he's like, I think the SCP Foundation is, like, the best fiction by committee, like collective of written fiction since the Bible, and I was like, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that.
I think it's interesting. Like all three things, that and Control, which I'm realizing Control was on my list last year, which is which is nice. A nice little bit of synchronicity there. Like they tap into something very universal. And the highest points of these things is these moments where you just like feel this overwhelming creepiness, possibly related to things that you've actually experienced. And yeah, it's just a very transcendent feeling. And I watch and ingest a lot of horror. And this scared me more than any movies I saw this year for the most part. Satyr got me in a couple moments this year. And there are a couple other movies that I'm not thinking of right now. But there were times listening to the show where I was genuinely creeped the hell out. So yeah.
Well, two things. One, the fact that guy was pretty much doing it all on his own.
Yes.
Like that is stunning with the production values on that show. But to slightly piggyback off this, another show that I'd listened to for a bit, and as per usual, I just dropped because I started listening to something else, but I still want to go back to Old Gods of Appalachia. It's a podcast.
Oh no, cannibals.
They're very woke.
TikTok.
No, it's really interesting because this guy does a great job of telling stories that are very horror adjacent or adjacent to our interests when it comes to horror and stories of that nature, and doing it in a way that works as if he's telling stories from like the 1800s and the early 1900s, and there is a larger mythology. I just didn't quite get that far into it, but you could see things starting to connect. But it's really well done, and it is like a company putting it out, if I remember correctly, but it's one guy telling you these stories, so it's kind of got a similar vibe to that. So I would encourage everyone to check out both the Magnus Archives and the Old Gods of Appalachia. There's so many good things out there podcast wise that you just need to take a chance on.
I mean, because Magnus worked out so well for me, I'm definitely going to check this out, Erik, because there's
a lot of the Old Gods of Appalachia too. So yeah, you'll have a decent amount to listen to. It's the way I found Magnus Archives was because I used to listen to the No Sleep podcast on a regular basis. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that.
Oh yeah.
I know the name.
Yeah.
I know the Reddit.
Well, that's where they get the stories from. Is they go through and they pick what they think are the best ones, and then they credit the author, and they're dramatically retold. And sometimes they're really, really fucking good, and other times it sounds like really bad amateur theater because the people are trying to sell it, and you can't sell a bad story, no matter how good an actor you are. But yeah, that was the genesis of how I found the Magnus Archives, was just because the No Sleep podcast was abysmal at times. Anyways, did you have anything else you wanted to add about the Magnus Archives, Arlen?
No, I do have two quick shout outs, or do we want to do that at the very end? I don't know.
Let's do it at the end.
Yeah, just wait until the end. So it's none of my list was in any particular order. But the last thing I had on my list was Shang Chi. Like Shang-Chi was the movie that I was like, oh, Marvel is really branching out now. And it followed a similar pattern to their other movies, but it was still different enough, and honestly a really good choice on their part, just from an optics and horrible business view, but also from a general like, hey, this character could be really big, let's put him out there. And all Asian cast, just with the exception of Ben Kingsley. Like it was so much fun to see multi-billion-dollar kung fu film that also fits into the Marvel universe.
It's still important representation. Like
it is.
I do want to point out that a lot of people say Ben Kingsley isn't Asian. He is technically Asian.
Mm-hmm.
He's just Southeastern Asian.
Yeah, he's of Indian descent, isn't he?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he is. A lot of
Yeah,
people.
so my gaff.
It's
My
just-
apologies.
He's British. It's just a general. It's a thing that's come up many times, and every time I'm like, have any of you Googled him even a little bit?
I always forget that he is actually of Indian descent, but here nor there. Like, it's such an important movie because, like Hunter just said, it is about representation and the fact that Marvel is like, all right, cool, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, Kevin has been batting 1,000 for me. I haven't seen Eternals, but it's
Eternals.
still
It's a movie.
it's a bunt. It's a bunt
Yeah.
from what I've heard. Yeah.
Here's what
There's
I'll say
stuff
about
in it.
Shang-Chi. Like, what I loved about that movie is the characters were just so interesting, and like that's the thing that I really want these movies to do more than anything is make me like these characters and care about them.
Yeah.
And they did that twice over in a movie with one title character. Like, I really want to know what happens with these two, with Katie and Sean, or what are they gonna call him? I don't know what name he's gonna go by. But like, and even his sister, like, so many great characters were introduced in this movie, and I'm into it. I think Marvel, the movies that they put out this year, even the ones that weren't the best or the ones that were not as fun, like, I think that they did interesting things. They tried things that maybe people wouldn't have expected.
Yep.
And I'm glad that they were able to experiment. I think they genuinely tried to do things that were a little bit different, and not just from the like boring marketing reasons to do things differently. I think there were attempts to take chances when they don't necessarily need to. The assumption would be rest on your laurels and just like put out things that are very similar to what you've already done. But I think that they took some pretty big swings. Not all those swings may have worked absolutely for everyone, but they did them. So, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and we got to see Wong fighting the Abomination.
Yeah,
that was
awesome.
also a very high point. Yeah.
And saying Hotel California, which was
and the fact that you finally got a dragon, Hunter. There you go.
Yeah, I finally got my dragon. He listens.
Yeah. Although I am shocked that there wasn't any mention of where's the place that Iron Fist trains at. Yeah, I am shocked that didn't even get mentioned in passing.
I thought they were going to a couple times.
Well, yeah, I get that, but
what
no.
you're saying, like, yeah.
I was totally expecting it just to be mentioned in passing, and that would be it. But I understand.
It's also hilarious that Colleen was almost in that fucking movie,
Yes.
and she didn't want to give up the character of Colleen yet, and that's why she wasn't the sister. I guess she was almost the sister. Fucking hilarious.
But I kind of get what she's saying. Like, that's a character that's
and also I don't think she made the wrong choice. We don't have to talk about Matrix at length, but she was good in Matrix.
Yeah, she was arguably my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah, she's really good in that movie.
Oh yeah, she's great as Bugs.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's all I really have to say. I mean, it's that movie, proof is in the pudding. Like, wasn't sure if they're going to be able to pull it off, and they did, and they didn't have to do anything stupid to make it work either. It worked because it was a good script, and they thought before they put it out. So yeah, that's me. That's everybody, I guess. And after we riddled Connor's list full of holes with all
the other thing is, like, I've now become like whatever Hunter Davenport does when he just starts getting sleepy in a podcast. I'm just on the floor, like I'm holding my microphone.
You're Hunter.
So Arlen, you had two things you wanted to shout out real quick.
Yeah, just quick shout outs. One, I already know Erik is on board for check out Brian David Gilbert on YouTube.
Yes.
His shit is fire. And if you don't know, first watch the I think it's like a wizard did a thing to your laptop video, and then watch I can't remember the name of it, but there's one video that's like 10 minutes long, and it's like your dad playing with a camera.
Yep.
It's a really fucking weird video. And it goes places that I did not expect. And if you like either of those videos, just watch his entire channel because it's so many different things. And even his stuff that he did at Polygon.
Check out the Halo novel video, which is amazing.
Yeah.
where he spent 2 years reading every Halo novel.
It's amazing.
Just amazing. Just that's something worth checking out. And then another thing is a show that recently became an HBO Max original called The Other Two. And it's about two siblings whose youngest brother basically has a Justin Bieber moment. He becomes like the biggest pop star for like 12-year-old girls on Earth. Who become like what are those fish that follow sharks around? I can't remember what those are called.
Oh yeah, but the type that like latch on to like to nurse sharks and things like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They become that for him, and you just see all these like horrible things occur, and just some of the most genuinely funny and like messed up moments I've seen in a comedy show in a really long time. It was originally a Comedy Central show, and it's just really funny and biting in interesting ways. The characters are also really compelling and interesting. So yeah, go watch The Other Two. You'll know if you like it based off the first episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's I'm always looking for new stuff to watch. So
yeah, and short episodes too. If you're like me and you're like, I need 20 minutes, give me something, get me out of here.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I just want to do a quick shout out. G4 relaunch was amazing.
Yeah.
I was a denier at first, but I've been converted. It's really good. I was wrong. Go check out G4.
Yeah. I wanted to give a shout out to this year's Flu, which, hey, if you didn't know, that's still going around, you assholes. So that don't act like it doesn't exist just because of COVID.
Yeah,
it has
the
a little
Democrats
bit of
made it.
It has some H1N1 in it, which, if you don't know, is the swine flu. And my wife and I had the swine flu when that was first going around. And one of the big contributing issues with that is severe kidney pain. And my wife and I have had sore kidneys for like 3 days, and it finally started to abate today. Yeah, so
I'm certainly not paranoid about that now.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a good time.
Yeah, if the articles that came out last year that said the flu was almost dead because of COVID, it was gone.
Yep.
Think again.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was a good little moment there.
Also a shout out to the anniversary collect or version of Skyrim, whatever the newest one is, because it actually got me playing the game again, and I started a completely new character, and I'm loving it, and I don't have any mods on other than the ones that are officially sanctioned. It's so good. The game looks beautiful in 4K too. So
Skyrim good, always good.
Yeah. Yes. Come on, Starfield, be as good as Skyrim.
Please. Oh, thank you.
Please.
All right.
Do it, coward.
Yeah. All right. I guess that's it.
I think we need to release Connor from his chain. So let's
get if he's even awake at this point.
Connor, if you don't have any last words before we depart from this.
I don't. You'll see me next year. Well, this year now, more on this show than you will anything else, if that's telling at all to anybody else.
Yeah, this show will be coming back soon.
Yes.
Not that soon, but soon.
Yeah.
Maybe
don't expect any real changes.
No. Also, I'm not going to say anything because it will jinx us immediately if I say what we're trying to do.
Don't expect changes. Just expect more of the same low effort.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Low effort. But more frequently. Far more frequently.
Maybe more effort, but don't ask us too hard.
No.
Hopefully more effort. I would like more effort, but we'll see.
I vocalized it and was immediately trounced. To see what happens.
Well, maybe we can I won't say it. That's mean.
Maybe
Anyways.
more effort from Arlen, but not me.
Yeah.
How dare you, Hunter? How dare you?
I'm going to become more monosyllabic as we go and forget the names of simple things. Like
Right.
the thing that lives in my house that walks on 4 legs. I can't remember.
I'm going to make the word troglodyte a slur. I'm going to make call back.
Make troglodyte racist again. I don't know what anybody else might have to add.
Check out Comic Club every Sunday.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh no! I'm falling to the floor now. Oh no!
At least look at the feed and acknowledge how funny Hunter's descriptions and titles are, because they're always delightful.
If you
I
want
get
to hear
the notification, and it's always great. It's just
if you want to hear 2 guys talk about how great Game Pass is, that's your show.
Check out Comic Club.
And hear Hunter badgering his co-host into liking Final Fantasy more than World of Warcraft.
Hey, you want to talk about Silent Hill this time? No. Hey, you want to talk about Silent Hill next time?
Yes. That's basically our discussion every week.
Yeah, pretty much. It's great. It's fun.
All right. Good night, you fucks.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Wear your mask. Wash your hands.
Yeah, don't be a fucking neck bone.
But maybe, like the CDC says, we should beat the ball to the chest.
Yeah, why not?